pass home the overall 2023 Lifetime Grand Prix winner, a winner in Sea Otter, Unbound, Crusher, and led by last year. And now she starts the 2024 campaign. Welcome to the front row, Sofia Gomez DeShafana. Up next, we'll welcome your current men's gravel national champion. He hails from Park City, Utah, a former cross-country national champ. Welcome the Stars and Stripes to the front row, Keegan Swenson.
You are listening to Zen and the Art of Triathlon.
Hey there, all you endurance studs and studettes, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Triathlon, the podcast where we go long on endurance and learn a lot about ourselves along the way. Well, this episode is going to be great. We have the full spectrum of interviews and action and travel and racing because we hit the highway and went to Turkey, Texas, up in the Texas Panhandle, and did the Valley of Tears 115-mile gravel race. And it was an adventure. It was absolutely crazy. And I'm recording this on Monday. The race happened on Saturday. And with time change, yesterday, I actually had a difficult time getting up in the morning to get to the pool to get in my Monday morning swim. So we are going to do it over lunch. So we are in the ZenTri mobile studios and headed over to the pool right now. I figured I'd go ahead and get the podcast started and talk a little bit about what we got going on. So the race was full of lots of drama, a little bit of crashing, which is always interesting in gravel racing. The crashes are a lot more gentle than they are in road racing. That's one thing that makes gravel racing so much fun, is it's a lot less dangerous. I think I saw maybe one car out on the course the entire time that I was out there for 7 hours. And also you get to travel to weird and wonderful places and see things that you've never seen and never ever would see in your life without going and doing a race that you've signed up for, triathlon, gravel, mountain biking, any of those, ultra trail running. They all fall into that category. And it was just such a crazy event. So the race kind of came up out of nowhere because Keegan Swenson announced it, and Sofia is his girlfriend, and they are the number one male and female cyclists in North America right now. And gravel racing is the number one cycling format. And it was this first time ever race in Turkey, Texas, population 310 or something like that. Even I, who does geography for a living, hadn't heard of Turkey, Texas before. And it's on the edge of it's like the Cap Rock kind of area, which is the tops of mesas and stuff that are the edges of the southern end of Palo Duro Canyon. And Palo Duro Canyon is Texas's own Grand Canyon. And it's not as deep, but it's really wide and long and just kind of epic. And also just like brutal terrain. And apparently some travelers back in the frontier days were headed that direction, and they called it the Valley of Tears because it was epically hard getting out there. So when this race came up, Kai immediately wanted to do it because of Keegan was going to do it. So we kind of kept our eyes on it for a couple of months. And then they're doing the thing where the registration is like super cheap, I think, to get people to go. And they managed to secure a bunch of big names to go to the race. And these names just started adding up. So Alex Howes and Ted King. So you've got former Tour de France, World Tour pro riders, World Team Tour riders, Emily Newsom, all saying that they're going to come do this race, and the entry fee was only $20. And it's like, okay, now it's a 7-hour drive about for us. And we're just kind of like, well, maybe. And it conflicted with Kai's mountain bike race calendar. But Kai was racing a lot to the point of where his last race, he didn't do so well. And he was, trying to decide if he was going to race yet again. And I said, well, you're kind of tired, maybe take a break. So I took a break for a weekend and trained instead, getting some more volume, big, easy volume, and use that for training for the Valley of Tears instead a couple weeks later. And that training went well. 3 days, back-to-back, big volume, big, easy miles. So it looked like he was going to be able to handle it and enjoy it. Was really excited about these big name pros being there. And Kai registered as Open Pro, and that got him on the starting line, shoulder to shoulder with the biggest names in the sport, which is a really big deal, especially as you're starting out in the sport. It's really motivational. And it was a race that, we should say it was a distance that I felt like I could do. And then Kai's girlfriend wanted to go, Emily wanted to go. And so all of a sudden, the next thing we know, this whole thing's coming together and we're going to go do this. and I should mention right off, I forgot to do it right at the very beginning. We've got interviews with Justin McQuerry, who is been a pro for a while now. He's a very successful local pro in the Texas area and wins a lot of the races around here. And he's also type 1 diabetic, which is a big inspiration because Emily's type 1 diabetic. So we've got a good interview with him here in a few minutes. And also at the packet pickup, I interviewed a distributor who had a set of Bird racing wheels. And Bird, B-E-R-D, is the company that makes the racing wheels with the fabric wheel spokes instead of metal spokes or carbon fiber spokes. And in the interview, just listen to my reaction when I actually pick up a wheel with a tire on it. Like, I cannot believe how lightweight it is. And because they're fabric spokes, and of course the fabric's like nearly indestructible, so they've been around for a while. They're just fantastic. I've just never put my hands on any. And it is crazy how well they work, and people really like them. So we got an interview with that. After the race was over, on the car ride back, we've got an interview with Emily and Kai and Kylie talking about how the race went, what were their favorite parts. So I'll try to do those interviews in chronological order as they happened. But I can tell you right off the bat, the first thing that happened is we were trying to get Kai bigger gearing. And his chainring runs a 42. Both of our bikes run a 42 front chainring. And this race is relatively mild as far as climbing goes. And what the pros are doing is putting on bigger and bigger front chain rings because the pack is going faster and faster. So we ordered Kai a 44 tooth chain ring, go up a 2, because it looked like it would fit. And then it turned out that the bolt pattern was wrong on the 44. So that actually ended up never happening, unfortunately. We're going to have to send that chain ring back. But I did find another one that we're going to get him up to a 44. So that was the drama leading up to that. And then we took off of work. Emily and I did Thursday and Friday. So we could have Thursday off and then drive up there Friday and get to packet pickup on Friday. They were having a pre-ride around 2 o'clock. That would have been really cool if we could have gotten there on time. But just leaving College Station and driving the 7-something hours to get there made it. We got there around 2:30, just as the ride, was wrapping up, or halfway through and wrapping up. So that wasn't really going on for us. And also there was a big weather change. Unfortunately, it rained a bunch the day before the race, and was drizzling continuously up until the night before the race. And that had us very concerned. And because gravel bikes can get jammed up with mud, because you're trying to get as much tire as you possibly can and as narrow a frame as you possibly can. And yeah, that can make things a little difficult. Okay, we are here at the pool. I'm gonna go in and swim. Just do a couple more things. So on the way there, as we're getting closer to Turkey, we drove through Fort Worth, and then the next biggest town. We drove through Quanah, Texas, which is named after a Native American chief, which is really cool because it's got a giant arrow that's stuck in the ground outside of it. It's a famous landmark. But we've driven past that a bunch before. Then we went off the beaten path more so towards Childress, Texas, which is a pretty famous town. You might have heard of it. And then headed way off the beaten path towards Turkey, Texas. And as we're going through Childress, because of the rain, we're watching off the side of the highway on either side, left or right. Well, there's roads named like Mud Road. Seriously, MUDD, Mud Road. Like, oh no. And we're looking off to the side, and it is scary because we're like, dude, that road looks like crap right now. And so it really had us freaked out. And we're like, and we just stop somewhere and get paint mixing sticks. So Childress actually had a hardware store, an Ace hardware store right next to the highway. So we went in there and they gave us for free some paint mixing sticks, which you use for gravel racing to help smart people use in gravel racing. They carry them on them to get mud out between your tire and the frame. So if you get peanut butter mud, your wheels don't lock up. So we went in there and grabbed 4 paint sticks, one each for me and Kai. And then also the joke was we could probably sell them on the side of the road during the race. And yeah, the roads were like, they're reddish. The soil out there is kind of reddish. And it just made things look even worse. And right outside of Turkey, there's a spot where on the race map, the race crosses the road. And we pulled over right there and spent a few minutes walking around on one of the typical roads, dirt gravel roads that the race was going to be on. And yeah, about 5 minutes, 10 minutes walking up and down the road to see how bad it was. And even though it had rained quite a bit, and even though it was still kind of misting, the soil was interesting. It had enough sand in it that it was draining and not collecting too much water and not very muddy. And it wasn't sticky, and I was like, oh, this is really good. It was definitely somewhat sticky, but it wasn't as sticky as like peanut butter mud, which is going to jam things up. It didn't have enough clay in it to actually do that. It was a little bit more sandy. And so that was a big relief. And let me pick up here in a minute after the swim, and we'll talk about packet pickup and running into Justin and a whole bunch of other things that happened the night before the race. Here we go. All right, bing, we are back. Swim over with, nice and easy. I'm sitting in the ZenTri mobile studios outside of Subway. Gonna go in and grab myself a foot-long sandwich. Probably eat half of it now, half of it later. Besides the bread formerly being made with yoga mats, it's actually not a bad place to get food because you can just keep telling them to add more spinach and bell peppers, and if you like onions and things like that, your healthy veggies, just keep piling it on. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then the bread is good carbs. And they have whole wheat bread, so that's nice. And yeah, the swim, a little sore, decided to take it easy and get back in the pool so that I have the ritual back into effect. So that was really nice. And while I was swimming, I was thinking of a bunch of different stuff. I did make notes on the drive home about things so I don't forget anything, but I don't have them in front of me right this second. But what we can talk about was when we pulled over to look at the road to see how muddy it was actually going to be. On the left-hand side was this giant, has like 20 foot tall, probably quartz, marble-ish kind of obelisk that's shaped kind of like the Washington Monument. And it's this old monument that is a marker, like a trail marker on, oddly enough, the Ozark Trail, which you would think would be in Arkansas. But I think it might have connected to Little Rock. It was a wagon. It's a marker that you are on the wagon trail. This dirt road is a former wagon trail between wherever, probably Little Rock, let's say, and Santa Fe. And then there was a Texas historical marker describing what this is. And it was full of, it was brutal out here. And this is legit wagon trail, just rough and tough country out here. And this is a marker that you could see from quite a distance that was real solid to let you know that you're on the right path and head towards this marker and then keep on going. And that was kind of impressive. And it's off the path. It's about a quarter mile off the left-hand side of the road if you're coming from the east into the place. And then also a claim to fame to this race is this bat tunnel that we're gonna have to go through. So part of the course goes, like I said, through this like slot canyon up onto the plateau. And of course there's a part that juts out. It's not easy to go around, so they blasted a tunnel through it a long time ago. And it is a slightly curved tunnel that is, let's say, 0.2 of a mile long, and maybe 1/10 of a mile. It's hard to judge because it was pitch black in there because it's so old. And so one purpose run a railroad cars through or wagons maybe, and then that it's not long enough to be lit to run power out to there. It's really hard to get to, and so it's just dark, and bats have taken up in there. So it's a freaking bat colony in there that has been there forever. And so the ground is so dry out there that when you get into the tunnel, it is powdered bat poop, guano, that's like ash. And they said, don't worry, no one's known to have gotten sick from it. It's too dry for it to contain too much bacteria and stuff. And also the bat colony isn't there this time of year, supposedly. But what's fascinating or rough or made this like an adventure is that when you hit the tunnel, you can't see, the tunnel's got a curvature to it. So when you go in, you can't see the end of the tunnel. Now, if the tunnel was straight, you would be able to see a light at the end of the tunnel and aim for it. But because there's a very gentle curve, you go in and you're halfway in and it's pitch black and you cannot see the end of the tunnel. And that's during the race, that's where the bat guano, they said that the Park Service came and, moved a bunch of the bat guano out, shoveled it out. So it's like kind of like sand, like light sand. It's ash kind of. And so it should be rideable, but, you might get stuck and have to walk. And even to the point of like some people cover or rinse off their bottle tops after they go through to get any bat poop off of it. And don't worry about it. It wasn't that bad. But it was definitely something to be a little bit worried about. And I heard from somebody leading into this that a tip is to close one eye as you go into tunnels. This is what the pros do when they go into tunnels on like the Tour de France and stuff. And so you close one eye before you go in, and then you've got one eye where your pupil's plenty big because your eye's been closed. And then after it gets dark, when you hit the tunnel, then open that eye and actually you can see pretty good because you've got one pupil that's larger, and because your eyes have been closed. And we'll get to that about how that worked out on the race. So anyway, we've got this challenge coming, and then also the temperature drop. The race start temperature was going to be 33 degrees and going to warm up to 50 something. And we're about 2.5 to 3,000 feet elevation, back up and down. And so it's not high elevation, but it's getting up there. So it's dry, cold, and the wind was going to be strong in the morning, but more of a tailwind and crosswind at first for a while. And then the wind was going to die off a little bit in the afternoon, all on the forecast and stuff. In Texas, like a lot of places, you can't trust the forecast farther than you can throw it. So, we'll see. And also, so that was going to be like exciting, like just running through your mind, man, what are we going to do? This is kind of fascinating. And the thing is with really long races, the more prepared you are with little tips and tricks and strategies, actually, the better off you do. This isn't a 50-yard sprint freestyle where you just swim as hard as you can, or like a 100-yard dash on a track meet. There's no strategies. You just go hard, right? Like every little strategy helps you go faster when you go really long. Like, how do you do bottle hand ups? How do you refill stuff? Which side, how much do you draft? How much do you not? The leading, and which way the wind is coming from at what time of day? Like all this stuff really adds up. So, and things like, like closing one eye before you go into a tunnel so you can actually see when you're in the tunnel. So now this is getting exciting, right? Because the more information the more things that you prepare for, like, the more likely you are to do better in the race than somebody else. And so it gets really interesting, like leading into this race. And then on top of that, we had Kai got new tires, And I am nowhere near fast enough to race at the pro end, but Kai is, so I get to live vicariously through him as much as we can afford, and then get him like the really high end gear to see, him do that. So we got him the really high end race tires, which are, instead of just specialized high end stuff, ridiculous stuff, is S-Works, and S-Works it's kind of like their Skunk Works. Is like their Blackbird SR71 race tires, and they are just a lot like the Pathfinder Pros, except the tread's not quite as high, and I think it's got a little bit more special compound on it, so they roll even faster. And they only come in one width, because I think they've decided that is the width that is the best one for racing gravel that most pros go with, and it's 42 millimeter, and that fit his frame. So we got him those tires the week or so before the race. They showed up, so that's exciting, right? How are these things going to handle it? And he'd done a few rides with them and liked them a lot, and they seem really fast. And also their tan wall, which is like the coolest thing, that's fashionable. And then I'm just riding amateur grade tires, and which I'll get into in a minute, what I was riding. And then also his last mountain bike race, he was really frustrated that he couldn't get in a good warm up, and that really affects your race, because when you're starting off on the front, you got to go fast to keep up. So you need a good warm up. Well, if you go to a lot of races, bike races, you'll notice that people warm up on rollers, trainers, all kinds of stuff. And Kai wanted his coach said, you got to get some kind of rollers or trainer or something like that out there if you want like a controlled warm up where you can really do it. Otherwise, you're trying to figure out a warm up all over the place, and it's just not ideal. Dodging cars, riding around out in traffic, and trying to find a decent hill that you can do repeats on. It's just like it's nearly impossible. He had this idea, I don't know who told him exactly, but to get rollers, the real rollers that are the full rollers, because they're cheaper and they're lightweight, and you can kind of fold them up and whatever. Now, I happen to have a ton of experience with rollers, like a lot. I rode rollers for like a year or two exclusively as my indoor trainer before I got a different indoor trainer. And I told Kai, I said, now, one thing, I do want you to learn how to ride rollers someday, because that is badass to know how to ride rollers. The problem is that anything you do on rollers is like a party trick. And I can ride rollers. Eventually, I learned how to ride rollers one-legged, no hands. I don't think I can maybe briefly I can do no hands, one-legged. But the problem with rollers is when you're riding rollers, like to be able to do anything else while you're riding rollers is a trick in itself. Like, it's so dangerous that you're going to fall off, because there's nothing holding you on these things. And it's like riding on ice. That if you're trying to do, and I learned this, the reason I switched from rollers, even though I loved them, to a dedicated trainer was just reaching over for water bottles, or like shedding a layer or something like that, changing the channel on the TV or anything, is reaching down between your legs for a bottle is just, man, it's so unnerving that you're going to crash. And a lot of times you're on a really expensive bicycle, and the internet is YouTube is full of roller crashes that what it does is inadvertently, it really compromises your workout on rollers. And then also they need to be dead level, right, for them to really work well. And I told Kai, I said, I have a solution. Okay. So, but like, I don't really suggest like real rollers for warm-ups, because you're going to have to put them right up next to a car, so you have a car to lean against. And then anytime that as you get hotter and you start shedding your jacket, and then you're pre-fueling, and loading up for the race, and think about things and checking your phone for updates and stuff like that, you're going to have to stop, right? And then start again, and hopefully not crash. And then so we decided on there's half rollers. I don't know exactly what they're called, but what they are is they're rollers in the back, but then the front is like a tripod that's connected to it, and then your fork mounts to that. The whole thing's connected, and it folds up actually really small. But then you get this lightweight roller system where all you do is you take off your front wheel lock in, and then now there's no chance you're going to tip over. You get the full experience of gentle rollers, and you can work your way up and go faster and faster. But then you can sit upright and check things and fuel and go hard, really hard. Nothing on rollers. If you go really, really hard, things start to get out of control pretty quick. And so you can go hard while you're doing your little spin ups and whatever. And then, so we got those for Kai, and he tested them out once or twice, and they worked, and he liked them, and they look cool. They're black and red, and I forgot the brand, but you go on Amazon and look for the black ones with red rollers in the back, and the front's like a tripod looking thing. And that's the brand we got. And they're like half the price of like Tac X, because I think the more expensive ones might have a power meter in them or something. And we don't really need that. These are just warm-up rollers. So like that, the tires plus the bat tunnel and riding a course that we've never been through before, and the potential for mud and paint sticks. And then Kai was going to get to try out and use before a race these new rollers. And things were getting really, really exciting leading up to this race. We're having so much fun. And we hadn't even made it to Packet Pickup yet. And I am going, and plus the pros that are going to be there. Oh my God, is this really going to happen? And so let me go in and grab my Subway sandwich, and then I'll catch up with you in a little bit and tell you about Packet Pickup and our interview with Justin, the pro, and the Bird Wheels guy. And then after that, then we'll get a little bit into what we did for it's really interesting. The night before the race, the meal that we had to figure out how to eat, and then also our strategy for fueling and clothing before the race even started, and the different tactics. Pros have a different race. They race differently than the amateurs like me. And so we started getting into the different strategies of how we're going to support Kai versus how we're going to support me. And I'll give you a little bit of foreshadowing. Kai gets a lot of support, and I get none. And I don't mind whatsoever, because I like being self-sufficient. And that's part of it. I'm just out there to enjoy myself. Kai's actually really racing. So the difference between the two, how different they race, and also the difference in the support. It's really interesting. So I'll be right back and let you know about how all that went down. Be right back. All right, leaving Subway. Here's your ding. Got a foot-long roast beef with garlic, extra provolone cheese, some protein in there, and red blood cells with your iron in your roast beef. I ate a few bites of it. I ate half of a half to kind of tide me over for the rest of the drive in the office, because I just finished swimming, dude. I need to eat something. Rebuild those muscles. All right. So we finally get to town, and town is tiny, tiny. Like I said, 300 something people. There is a hotel in the middle. I imagine it's for deer hunters, and it's bizarre. It is an old West town, nicely preserved, truly cool. For as tiny as it is, it was really, really cool. And the weather and the terrain out there is so unforgiving that it's a town that's kind of tucked in this little miniature kind of valley, I think, to protect it from the elements some. And from a distance, you can see the tiny little, it's big for the town, water tower that looks like the Tin Man, from Wizard of Oz. It says turkey on it. Some trivia. In whatever year, because I Googled Turkey, Texas, whatever year PETA, the animal rights group, lobbied Turkey to change its name to Tofurkey. Yeah, they weren't doing that. But that's their one claim to fame. Oh, and Bob Wills, the country music swing, and the Playboys, I think was the name of the band, is from there. And they have a little miniature museum, very miniature museum, and the original tour bus from the 50s, I guess, outside. And there's something else that's a claim to fame. I'll think of it in a second. But anyway, that's it. That's the town. It's 3 square blocks maybe, but very cool. And while we're parking, and the town, a population of 300, and then you've got 600 racers. So basically that's 600 plus 300. That's tripling the size of the town. And then also all the support, like we brought 2 people with us racing. So that's another, few hundred people. So this town just exploded in size all of a sudden. And it's still kind of misting, raining. And a lot of times at races, they'll do packet pickup early. They set a time, but they've got the stuff all set up. So we went in and picked up our packet early because it wasn't supposed to be till 3 o'clock or 3:30, but we got there around 2:30. But paid close attention to the ground and like how tacky was the dirt. And I think there was only one paved street, the highway running through the middle of town. And it'd be a stretch to call it a highway, but it technically is. And then I don't think there's a red light or anything like that. And then the everything else is dirt streets. And so we go in and get packet pickup. And I'll do the Justin interview first, even though I talked to Bird Wheels first. Well, let's talk to Justin. Justin and I, we found each other. And let's go ahead and play our interview with pro cyclist Justin McQuerry. Here we go. All right, I'm here with Justin McQuerry. How's it going?
Hi, I'm doing great. It's a little chilly here in Turkey, but doing well.
Yeah, you just raced the Belgian Waffle Ride in Arizona at McDowell Park.
Yep,
McDonald Park? Or?
McDowell. Yeah, this past weekend I was out in race started in and around Cave Creek, Arizona, just north of Phoenix. First big gravel race, I guess, on-road race of the year.
Yeah.
It was an interesting start to the year. My racing.
Yeah, we watched your video. So people go check it out. It's on YouTube.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a full race video, unedited, start to finish, up on YouTube. My name, Justin McQuerry on YouTube. But it was an interesting way to start the year. It's good to get back racing.
So did you get started, obviously, I think, mountain biking years ago, right? And then transition, and still doing mountain biking and then gravel?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, my start in cycling starts in mountain biking. I started racing the Timbra XC series when I was pretty young, back, when I was like 10 years old. A while ago here. Doing the Spring XC series. Lived in Waco, so Cameron Park were my home trails. Learned to ride a bike out there. Kind of took it from there.
All right, that makes sense. Okay, so it was, 3-5 years ago. Emily's over here. Do you remember when we saw him on the stage? You won a race, Pro Division, and you were up there. And as you were like lifting your hands over your head, like they make everybody do for the photo, Emily said, "Oh my God, he's got an insulin pump."
Yep, that's a fact.
And we were like, "Oh, that is awesome." Emily's type 1 diabetic. We were at a triathlon one time years and years and years ago and saw a really badass looking triathlete. I don't know if he was pro or not, but had an insulin pump on, and it just changed the way that we thought about what she could do. We went up to him and asked him, "How do you do it?" And he's like, "Well, I just let my sugar run high before the race and then just go for it." That was his strategy.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to manage diabetes while also being an athlete.
And it was a kind of a sprint Olympic kind of race. So it wasn't like a really long race or anything.
It's a little bit different of the endurance sport side, but I've been living with type 1 diabetes since I was 2 years old, and I grew up wanting to do anything and everything kids want to do,
and you have,
and I wanted to
and more. Yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, what teams do you race for right now?
So currently on the road, I race for the Team Nova Nordisk Development Team. It's a continental team under the Team Nova Nordisk umbrella. All the athletes on the team have type 1 diabetes, and we race road races across the entire world.
Right.
I'm racing here in Turkey this weekend on a gravel bike, and then I'm flying to Greece on Sunday. So it's a lot of travel for racing. But then on gravel and all off-road races, I have my own personal sponsorship. Race for Ibis Cycles, Presta Cycle, Moose Packs, The Feed, and a couple other.
So you're kind of a privateer.
A little bit of a privateer on the off-road side.
Off-road side.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's really popular right now. And then
it is. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun. So, don't you manage a bike shop in Austin or something?
A little bit, yes. That's taking a little bit more of a back foot now. I've got both feet on the gas pedal for racing this year, but I have worked at Cycle Progression in Austin, big mountain bike shop. They've been extremely supportive of me traveling, racing, and then working when I can when I'm in town or doing what I can from the computer abroad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got some of your sponsors mentioned out of the way, and you went to Gravel Worlds in Italy?
I did, yeah.
What was that like?
Oh man, that was an experience, and it's honestly my biggest motivation right now. In 2023, I was a member of the U.S. Elite team for the 2023 UCI Gravel World Championships. I was actually the first rider with diabetes on a men's elite national team, which I thought was pretty cool, and I want to keep pushing forward with that. My race, unfortunately, went very poorly. I got extremely sick right before the race, and race day just didn't have much energy in the entire body at all.
At that point, you're just there for the experience.
A little bit, yeah. But everyone was taking it seriously. All the nations were taking it seriously. USA Cycling took it seriously. The UCI was taking it seriously. And gravel's here, and gravel's growing.
Yeah.
World Championships is in Belgium this year, and my number one goal for the season is to be on the elite team there and have a good race at UCI Worlds in Belgium in October.
And what's your strategy for tomorrow?
Strategy for tomorrow, it's looking a bit muddier than I was anticipating, so I think it's going to be going hard and going early. So it's I think this is going to be a very attritional race, so being up with the fast guys for...
Do you need a paint stick? We got a paint stick.
That might actually come in handy with how
we'll find you tomorrow and we'll give you one.
Yeah, perfect.
We got it at Childress, the Ace Hardware store. They gave it to us for free.
Perfect. And I think we're stopping there tonight.
They just gave it to us for free.
We might.
Okay, yeah. See, I was able to help you out. That's all right. You helped me out, I help you out.
That's
all right. So we were told we need to get out of here pretty quick. And we got a race meeting we got to go to. Oh, yeah. What other races do you have coming up?
Quite a bit, actually. Yeah. So racing here in Turkey this Saturday. Not even 24 hours, I guess it is 24 hours later, I'm flying to Greece on Sunday for a stage race in Greece with Team Novo Nordisk. Right. So I'll be racing in Greece Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The following Monday, I'll fly back to Texas, and then I'll race Rattlesnake Gravel Grind the weekend after that.
All right, yeah.
I'm excited for that one. I got to try and defend my win there.
Yeah.
And then after Rattlesnake, I'll be heading up to Colorado for elevation, for a little elevation camp ahead of BWR Utah.
Okay.
After BWR Utah, I'll drive to Redlands, California, and do the Redlands stage race.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Excited for that one again. Back to Texas for a little bit, and then BWR California at the end of April, and that's about as far.
That's a lot.
Look right now.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Of course.
It's nice to finally. I mean, we've met, but we never really talked.
Exactly. Okay. No, I'm happy to meet. Thank you for the opportunity. Excited to get racing.
Well, how do people find you again?
It's going to be Justin McQuerry on all social media platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Strava.
Easy to find.
I'm there.
Yeah, and you're always posting stuff too.
Try to.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. All right, so now you got a little bit more background on Justin. Very big influence on us because we would see him on the podium at races that Kai and I were doing, and we're like, man, we want to be like that guy. We see him every once in a while, and he stands out. He's got a certain look that's, you can't forget. And then he was wearing white shoes, and we're like, man, you're brave. And he's like, yeah, I got to keep up appearances. Because once you get to be a big time athlete, you have like a look and everything. And so, yeah. And let's see, the next thing was I talked to the vendor that had some 3D printed saddles. I was trying to get to the bottom, like, does he work for Bird? Does he work for a bike shop? And he's like my age, maybe a little bit older, but he's like some sort of independent contractor that takes stuff around to races. And I'm kind of like, man, when I retire, this is what I need to do. This looks kind of fun. And also, he said something about he might race himself. So let's go ahead and play the interview. This was at Packet Pickup area in the boot shop right next to the hotel. And those are pretty much the big businesses in town. And let's go ahead and play that. Here we go. Hey, gang. I went to review the audio for the Bird Wheels interview, and it is so bad in quality that I can't even bear putting it in the show. It is really tinny and low, and I'd have to jack it way up for you to hear anything, and then it'd be blown out. I think what happened is the microphone it decided to use was my headphones that were away in a case in my pocket or something. Not really sure what happened. So unfortunately, I'm going to throw that audio out, but I'm going to give back big time in its place. In the next episode, I will drop in the audio of the pre-race meeting in its entirety. And for those that are members of our Patreon support, I will go ahead and put that audio up and the bird audio, how about that, up on Patreon, along with Emily's encounter with a Cybertruck, which is really funny. I've been meaning to put that up there. That'll all go up on the Patreon. And you can get to Patreon by going patreon.com/ZenTri. Oh yeah, and this is where I'm going to announce that this is actually going to be a 2-part show. By the time I got done editing most of the audio, it's 4 hours long, so we're going to split it up into 2 shows. So thanks for sticking with us, and let's continue on with the rest of the show. Okay, so now we've got our packet. We've interviewed Justin. We're keeping an eye out for Sofia and Keegan and some other pros. And I keep thinking that there's these twin brothers that look like a younger version of Ted King. And I keep thinking that one of them's Ted King. And Kai is like, no, that's these other guys. And at Packet Pickup, they do a mandatory race meeting, and the room was packed full. And this was the second one they done, because since they had so many people there earlier for the pre-ride. And the pre-ride got cut in half because the weather was cold and rainy. And I remember after it was over, Kai went up and asked, hey, is there a controlled rollout? Because they never mentioned that. And the guy was kind of like, what do you mean? Why would you have a controlled rollout? And Kai was kind of put off by that a little bit. He's like, talk to me like I was stupid for asking. And I said, yeah, well, I don't know, whatever. But looking at the race course, there needs to be a controlled rollout, because they are going to go, I don't know, a quarter of a mile or something like that, maybe half a mile on pavement with a tailwind, because I've looked at the weather, or crosswind, tailwind, and then a 90-degree left turn onto dirt. And you know what happens when that happens. There'll be dirt mixed in with pavement, which turns it into ball bearings. And that 90-degree left turn is going to be at pro race pace off the front. And it's a mass start, right? So you end up with panicky people all up the front fighting for position. And you can get people that aren't as, pros are really good bike handlers, but even pros can crash. But then you get amateurs in there that are trying to, keep up or be one with the pros, and they cause drama and problems and wrecks as well. And so the reason you have a controlled rollout is it kind of slows things down and makes people take the first few turns at a decent, controlled pace. And then you minimize crashes because people aren't going too fast for the conditions and panicking. And over 5 minutes or so, people kind of find a natural pecking order and get a little bit more, the race starts to string out a little bit and be less compressed, so that if somebody crashes, it doesn't take out everybody around them. It only takes out 2 or 3 people around them instead of 20, which ended up kind of happening anyway, which I'll get to in a little bit. But, we got a leaf blower. Since we're recording a podcast, since that leaf blower came out. And yeah, so there we go. There's our leaf blower. So there was that question, and I'll remember some more things in a little bit. But the next thing was to get back to Childress, which was a 45-minute drive, and go check into our hotel. And once we check into our hotel, to then go find a place to eat dinner that's appropriate dinner for, I'm backing into apparently some bushes. They don't like, my truck doesn't like it. And when a really good selection is Italian food, and then just to get pasta with like red sauce and very low on meat, and red sauce is very low on grease, and then you've got a lot of carbs. There we go. Okay, chill. And then you've got a lot of carbs. You can take some of it home with you, steal some breadsticks, take those back to the hotel with you, and then you're good to go. And then also another thing is race start isn't until 10 a.m. the next morning, and our hotel was going to have on the thing it says that there's free breakfast starting at 6 a.m. and it's a 45-minute drive. But you can imagine, dude, one of the craziest things about triathlon when you start doing other sports is how ridiculously early they do. I don't know how the tradition started, but how triathlons, start at the crack of dawn, and other races just don't seem to do that. And it just makes it so much more relaxed and better. An 8 o'clock race start or 9 o'clock race start, 10 o'clock race start, you're just like, it's nice. I don't need to be there starting at 6:30 a.m. when you can barely see. And so we started running into some hiccups with finding dinner, and I will pick that up here after the rest of the days of work and catch up with you in a bit. Hold on. All right, we are back. Kai's car battery died. He's got ditch lights, these lights that go kind of near the windshield up on the hood on his Xterra, and they have caps on them to protect them. Well, guess what? If they're on, you can't tell. And so they got left on overnight and drained his battery over the weekend while we were gone at this race. Anyway, there was a couple things I forgot to mention with the race at the race meeting. They said, by the way, there's been a course change. And actually the night before, we got an email. I remember this now. So 2 days before the race, they sent out an email saying, there's been course changes on the GPS file. And one thing I really love about gravel racing is how, because, I grew up in Boy Scouts and backpacking and adult scout leader, Eagle Scout, all this crap. And that's also a Marine Military Academy, being a Marine cadet and trained by real Marines. They really train you to be self-sufficient, find your own way, figure it out. The harder it gets, the better it is, the more awesome it is. Just everything is type 2 fun that sucks now, but later you laugh about it. And anyway, there's a course change. And so these courses are so remote a lot of times, and so just out there that they put out signage, but you never really can trust signage, and people move signs or signs blow down, whatever, that they or you miss it. What they don't do enough of is the spray paint chalk on the ground, I think. But still, they said there's been a course change, and you need, so they give out a GPS file, right? And then the only downside of these, along with having a bicycle, is you need a bike computer that has a decent GPS in it that's going to last a long time. So the cost of that is, I'm not a big fan of. That's what it takes to do one of these races. But everything else is pretty inexpensive. And so you plug in the race course into your bike computer and you follow it. And the upside of that is kind of cool is if you have that, I really recommend it. I learned this from Sid and Mackie. They said on their races, especially off-road long stuff, they have the map as part of their screen. You can have that as an option, the map itself, and then you can tell that there's a hard turn coming up. And that gives you some heads up of how to handle it. And also this is going to be straight for a long time, so you can really put down some power, whatever. And then, so that's the upside of having a maps. Downside is these courses is there seems to be this pattern that I've recognized of gravel races, off-road racing changes the race course without fail, like the week of the race. And not just the week of the race. On occasion, it's the day before the race, and they act like it's no big deal. And this ends up biting Emily Newsom in the ass really bad in this race because she had an older file. But anyway, I wish that I get it. There's been a change. So the reason they changed the race course a little bit was there's some construction. And so this one section that happened to be on the road was, they were trying to avoid this really rough part of the bike rails to trails trail. And then by going on a road briefly. And that road is actually under construction now. And so they said, well, we're going to have to put you back on this part that's ugly. And then the other thing is this one section on the opposite end of the course, had like a mile or something, I don't know exactly, of deep sand. And they said people will not be a fan of that. And so they've changed the course to go around that, to take a different road around that section. And it either added or took away a few miles total, both of these together. But make sure you go download the latest course. It was sent out and updated, sent out by email and updated, the night before. So let's say today's the 7th, or today's the 11th, but like on the 7th, that's the date of the most recent one. And a lot of people are like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I'm just thinking in the back of my head, like, yeah, whatever, cool. But also, man, this is like such a typical thing in this sport is you need a GPS route so you don't get lost. And also there's nothing out there. So if you do get lost, you're not just screwed race-wise, but you might be screwed life-wise. You could be out in the desert and get stranded and get in harm's way, actually, out there. So there was that. And then also they also announced that there was going to be a cutoff time of making it through town, right? So the course does like this sort of like a big figure eight, and but it's lopsided. And then when you come back through town, you've done 77 miles, and that's the end of the 77 miler, by the way, race. But the people who are doing the 115 keep going, right? But they said if you don't make it through town at the 77 mile mark, then they'll stop you and not let you keep going. So there's a cutoff. And I'm kind of like, man, that's kind of sucks, dude. Just let people go, Like, how serious are they about stopping people? And they said, the reason we're doing this is if you haven't made it by that far, by that time, there's most likely you're not going to make it before nightfall. It's going to get dark on you while you're out there. And then I thought, well, that's a damn good reason. I did not pack lights. And you do not want to be riding with lights out on gravel roads and such that you've never been on before. And I was like, okay, that's a rational reason. But then again, some people were saying, well, why are we starting the race at 10 in the morning? We could start at 9 and then not have this cutoff time. And then there was some talk between the announcers and the crowd, like, well, it's not that bad, like we did the math and it's around 12 something miles per hour. And then you'll hear in the interview with Kai and the rest of the gang later, where I was like, I heard some people kind of going like that, and yeah, 12 miles per hour. It totally depends, right? This isn't smooth pavement. This is an uncontrolled environment with very unpredictable stuff going on, and it's just rained. So think of Unbound, where it turned into a mud pit, right? And they said, oh, but 12 miles per hour or whatever. So my feeling was people were kind of like, I don't know, that's kind of a tight cutoff, kind of depending on like what happens really out there. I have done and there's sand. They keep talking about that there's these sand stretches for people to watch out for regardless. And I'm just kind of like, man, you get in the sand and stuff, that is slow, really, really slow. It's just as slow as mud. I just got passed by a Plymouth Laser or a Chrysler Laser. That is old school, dude. Anyway, on the drive back to Childress, which is like a 45-minute drive, we started doing the math. And also, they said, well, it's 70 miles now, not 77, because of the course changes or something like that. And so now we're kind of like, so we started doing the math on calculators while we're driving back to Childress after all this. And it's like, well, based on what they said, and also they said 345, but then somebody else said 315. I swear to God, this is all like officials saying this, like back and forth. And it didn't really dawn on us like that all these different things had been said until we were in the car leaving. Now it's too late, to go back. we're halfway back. And so we're doing the calculations, and it's like, well, is it 12 miles per hour? But then one way you calculate it, it's like 13 point something miles per hour. And I was like, well, okay. So anyway, on my bike computer on race day, I set one of my fields to my average speed, which is something I never, ever do. And I highly recommend against doing, because average speed is a really good way to get yourself in trouble with trying too hard to irrationally keep up like a particular number. Like, oh, I'm doing 19.8. If I go just a little bit harder, I'll average 20 for this race. Well, then you end up blowing up because you're trying to meet numbers for averages. So I always recommend like just taking average off, and it is what it is, So anyway, I added the average field back on, and then I'm kind of like, well, as long as I average, what was the worst case scenario? 13 something miles per hour. I said, mid 13s, I guess, then I'll make it back in time, theoretically, and not get trapped in this cutoff, which they seemed very serious about. They said, we will stop you, and we will, don't worry about it though, because there'll be plenty of beer and you can enjoy the party. And I'm like, man, this is something really to watch out for. Okay, so there was a little bit of that concern. And then on the way back, we started looking for Italian restaurants to go eat dinner at Childress. And I don't know what the population of Childress is. It's a few thousand people maybe. And Kai or somebody, excuse me, I got the hiccups, said, there's no Italian restaurants in Childress. We were like, no way, dude. It's a town with banks and I don't know, a hardware store, it's like an actual town. It is not big. Somebody go Google it if you're listening to this. It's like a town you've heard of. So it's got to have an Italian restaurant, even like a tiny one. And then Kai said, well, there seems like there were several, but they're all closed down. And I thought, okay, I could see that. I could see that, there's been attempts at Italian restaurants, and just by circumstance, by coincidence, there happens to be none available, right now. And boy, were there barbecue restaurants and Mexican food restaurants. And I've learned that in Texas, if you can't find an Italian restaurant to load up on carbs for a race, then a Mexican restaurant, if you stay away from greasy fried, right, that Mexican food is actually really, really healthy. Really healthy because it's real food. And so I got tacos, soft tacos with flour tortillas, a little bit of a fajita meat, but not too much, and then veggies and stuff, and then I both got a double side of, he got a double side of rice, and I got rice and then potatoes, diced potatoes as my side. And so there's your carbs. And then I drove the entire way there. In fact, I've been the only person driving all day. So when we got back to the hotel, and also I get up really early, and with a late race start, I figured that I would do my stuff, get my bike and stuff ready for the race. I'll probably get up in the middle of the night and then annoy everybody but trying to be quiet, but get some of my race stuff together, and then and also get up early like I do and get the rest of my race stuff together. And so I just crashed out hard, and I brought earplugs with me, and earplugs plus head shocks headphones work really great. By the way, if they said no headphones on the race course, but there's headphones and then there's open ear headphones, in my opinion. And also there's being in the front of the pack, and there's also just kind of cruising and trying to stay out of people's way and stuff like that. And there's also listening to music, and then there's listening to podcast stuff. So you're listening to podcasts, not trading blows with people. You don't really need to hear that well. And then with the open ear headphones, you can hear really well. And for people that are curious about that kind of thing, then there was AT&T signal the entire route except for just a few minutes in the slot canyon and in the Bat Tunnel. And then the rest of the time there was AT&T signal for me to listen to. I listen to Pandora music just because I have channels on that. So I listened to like Wu-Tang Clan and Korn and stuff, and then some Zen podcasts and stuff while I was riding. Made the time go by really nice, and could still hear like everything all around me. It was great. And anytime stuff got serious, I would just tap my left headphone and then left side, and it would stop it so I could pay attention. And that worked great. Now, Kai's girlfriend had Verizon, and she was constantly without signal. So if you have Verizon and you go do this race next year, be ready to not have any signal. And I don't know what the cure for that is borrow a phone or borrow a SIM card or something like that. And the AT&T coverage was spectacular. Lots of signal most of the entire time. All right, I am pulling up in the driveway, and we're going to jumpstart Kai's car, and we'll talk about the big marijuana party that developed next door to our apartment the night before the race, which is always fun, or our hotel. That was also a very weird hotel. Be right back. All right, we got Kai fixed up, charged his battery for a little bit, then it fired up on its own, while mine was still attached, and now he's on his way. A little pro tip for those of you working on car batteries and such. If there's a lot of corrosion on the battery, one thing I've definitely done before that definitely works is Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper around here, but it has to be the fully loaded sugar stuff, not diet. And the acid in that will eat away the terminal corrosion, whatever that's called, all over the. But being a healthy household, we don't have regular Coke laying around. We have diet drinks, but not real ones. And then what'd we do? So Googled it and found baking soda. So we had some of that. Shook it up, of course, in a bike bottle. And drizzled it over the corrosion on the batteries. And oh my God, what a reaction. That was crazy. And that got rid of most of it. You're supposed to scrub it and stuff like that. We didn't really have time for it. So we got most of the corrosion off. And battery seems like it might be okay. So we'll find out. I said drive it all the way to Grandma's house. And that will charge up the battery. And also you need your oil change. Anyway, what did we do? Oh, I woke up in the morning. Well, I woke up in the middle of the night and did some stuff. I took a shower in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m. And I'm so used to getting up so early that I wasn't too worried about, getting up early enough with that 10 o'clock race start, even with a 45-minute drive there. And, yeah, we were a little disappointed on race day or the packet pickup that we didn't see more pros. And but again, we missed the pre-ride, and they already had one race meeting, they said earlier. And so that was that. And, so when I woke up in the morning, I'd been up for a while getting my stuff together. And then, hey, River, where's Zoe? Zoe! Where's the problem dog? There she is. Okay. Well, you're all problem dogs. Okay. Then Emily said, oh my God, did you hear the chaos last night? I said, no. She said, so people came in. Oh, wait, let me back up a little bit. When we first got to the Super 8, we thought there might be a mistake. We thought it was closed for business because there was no cars in the parking lot. And that is really unusual. But that's where our reservation was. And we went in and double checked, and yeah, this is where it is. And I knew Emily would say something. I was about to say to Kai, watch, Mom will not be able to not say something. And she did. She goes, well, there just doesn't seem to be any cars in your parking lot. And then the lady behind the counter really was unaffected by that. And she's like, oh, yeah, well, there'll be people showing up. And then, so anyway, people did show up, apparently. And I slept completely through this. People partying next door. That's the problem with cheap hotels is the walls are thin. People partying next door, people partying above us. And I slept right through it. So there aren't any fancy hotels in Childress, the nearest place. So there's a Holiday Inn Express, which looked pretty nice on the edge of town. And they, maybe their walls are thicker, but I've learned from Boy Scouts bringing earplugs because other adults snore a lot of times. And it is like you cannot sleep. And I had a snoring roommate at military school. I have PTSD from that. I couldn't even begin to tell you guys the chaos and drama that caused in my life. And so I just don't do that. So I bring earplugs. And Shox headphones comes with earplugs. The more you plug your ears, the better the headphones work. With bone conduction headphones. So they ship with some. But anyway, you go buy a gun store and they have earplugs, and they or sporting goods stores sometimes. So yeah, they said that they were up, and the smell of weed was coming through the door. And it was just sucky, you know, and I was like, well, I feel bad for you for sure, but man, I'm glad I missed it because I slept right through it. Anyway, I started getting my stuff together. I'm lubing my chain. That's what made Kai mad. I'm lubing my chain and doing reverse, you know, and of course my freewheel, whatever cassette isn't very loud, but it still makes some noise. And Kai goes, "Dad, will you shut up?" As I'm lubing my chain. And it's a wax-based lube, right? So you got to do it well before you're going to ride. And I fell asleep the night before too soon. And anyway, so we load up. Oh, we have breakfast there too, which was nice. And then in Texas, we have Texas-shaped waffles a lot of times where you make your own. And they had that. And I had a little bit of eggs, a little bit of sausage. No, I think I skipped sausage. I just had eggs and a waffle. And also I ate granola cereal that we brought. And then on the way to the race, I ate a bagel with some cream cheese to slow down the bagel so it didn't upset my stomach. And then we parked, and then Kai started setting up his trainer thing, and he got on it, and there was a little bit of a concrete pad right where we were parked. And I thought we were parked, this is funny, I thought we were parked under like a telephone pole transmission tower, like a power transmission line tower or something like that. This is right in the middle of town. And then after a while, I eventually look up, and we're literally parked right under the Tin Man Wizard of Oz water tower, like directly under it. And 10 feet away, you know, and I was like, oh my God, dude, we are in the center of town. And then on the ground, underneath the water tower was one of those tornado sirens that was disconnected, and just the assembly, it literally had like 16 like horn-shaped, horns coming off of it to announce the sound in every freaking direction from the siren. And boy, when you see one of those in real life, you're like, dude, we are in tornado country. And Emily, I didn't see it, but I've seen them before. Emily said she saw, as we were passing a house, one of the storm cellars, that you run to get away from a tornado. And that was interesting. So Kai got on the trainer and started his warm up. And there's people all around us. People are kind of parking randomly all over the place because it's that small of a town. And hey, babe. Oh, I'm getting a visit from Zoe. Okay, Zoe, back off, babe. Back off. And what was really nice was Emily and Kylie were starting to have a lot of fun. They've been having fun since we went to Turkey and did the packet pickup, and they were starting to meet people and see people and just a bit of the adventure and kind of seeing the surroundings a little bit. But we still really haven't gotten, you can see off in the distance, the Caprock Chasm kind of canyon stuff, but it's off in the distance. We're on the edge of it, approaching it, coming from the Fort Worth, Dallas direction. So, none of us have at this point been kind of in the stuff that looks like the Badlands of Utah, Moab or something like that, or the Grand Canyon kind of stuff yet. But in spite of that, they're having a lot of fun because the town is a trip, man. It's this tiny little western town where it looks like for real they would have a shootout on Main Street back in the day. And it's really quaint and really cute and not threatening whatsoever. It's got a cute name and it's awesome. And then also some of the towns in the surrounding area, some of them have Native American names like Quetzalcoatl or whatever, but actually you pronounce it Quitaque, I think. And so it's getting fun is my whole point. And Emily and Kyle, because this race isn't just about us, we've got to make sure our support crew's having a blast too. And I've definitely done races where being just support is so much fun. And they are having a really good time and enjoying it. And like, oh my gosh, did you see this person? Oh my gosh, look at that. And oh my gosh, right? And so you can tell they're really getting into it. And so Kai gets on the roller thing. And so I get to see it for the first time in action. And I was impressed. I was like, dude, it was seriously like $150. In fact, I'm at a place where I can pull it up on Amazon and tell y'all the brand. Let me get it on the truck. The brand and how much it costs, because I definitely recommend it. Not there. Oh wait, here's my laptop. And while I'm pulling that up, well, it's really intimidating to other people to be on one of those, especially because rollers on especially knobby tires, and Kais are only semi-knobby, so it wasn't as bad as a mountain bike, but they're loud, and you just hear this ring, 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 and it attracts attention. And people are like, oh my God, who is that? You know? And Kai's bike was actually attracting some attention because his is set up with really badass race wheels. It looks aggressive and looks freaking cool. So, and is a little known brand. So, but people who know that that's a magnesium frame. And that was really cool. And let me get to Amazon here. But let me tell you a little bit about the strategy for fueling in water and stuff like that. We'll do mine first to show you just average, and then we're gonna escalate it to pro. Okay, so mine is I'm pretending I'm on my own on this race because Kai is going to be so much faster than me that they can't support Kai and then wait for me and then go support Kai again, right, in time by the time I get through. So they're supporting Kai and then moving to the next place to support Kai. And I'm just kind of screwed. And that's okay. Because like I said, I kind of enjoy being self-sufficient. And I'm the guy that does, self-supported Ironmans and stuff. And that's just, I enjoy doing it. It's my thing. Let's see, Amazon. Oh, here's chain rings. Man, we might get a solid chain ring for Aero. Plus it looks cool. And that's the only one I can find that's a 44 tooth with a 3-bolt pattern for SRAM. Is solid, and it's Chinese, but the reviews are like it's good enough. There's one where the review is just it's terrible. It does not. It's loud. It doesn't shape to the chain very well. So we're not going to get that one anyway. Let's see previous orders, account and returns and orders. Here we go. Bike trainer stand, resistance adjustable, portable, magnetic, bicycle rollers, indoor. It's got all the tag words in here. Okay, it's got a black bike on it with red trim. And the rollers are red. The rest of the whole thing is black. And the brand it was $247. Okay, so that's more than I remember. But that's still less than half of like another brand. And it's CXWXC. Okay, I'll say that again, even though you can rewind this. CXWXC. Is the brand. And so far, this thing has been impressive, really well built. And all the reviews were good. And I think one of the reasons it convinced me to buy it is I happen to have a bike stand that I think is made by the same company. And the bike stand's really high quality. And that's why I was like, well, let's try this one. Okay, $247 on Amazon. Except there was one thing. When he was done with it and we folded it back up and put it in the back of the car, one of the feet was left behind on the ground. And he didn't see it. I saw it later when I was getting my stuff ready to go over to the start line. I saw it and I was like, oh crap, that thing just came right off. It screws right back in. It was just loose. And it's supposed to get loose, right? It's part of the assembly thing, but just watch out for that. And anyway, okay, so my strategy was a Camelback with 2 liters of water. And what I've learned on my gravel riding and mountain biking stuff is to have water in 2 places. And when it's too rough or you feel uncomfortable taking your hands off the bars, then drink from your Camelback because that's super easy. And you can drink all the water you want while keeping your hands on the bars. And that's why Camelbacks were invented. And then in my front triangle, I had a water bottle and a fuel bottle for 4 hours. And I made it before we even left the house here in College Station. I made two 4-hour bottles in case it was going to take me 8 hours, which took me 7.5. So I wasn't too far off. And what I did was 350 calories per hour. And on top of that, 2 liquid IVs that have caffeine in them and per bottle. So basically, I think that equates to 50 milligrams of caffeine. So half a cup of coffee every hour. And liquid IV has, electrolytes and stuff in it. So that was enough electrolyte for that bottle by far. And then so I've got a full Camelback with 2 liters of water. I've got a 22-ounce Aero water bottle on the front of my bike in the front triangle, and to make my bike more aero, because the further up front you get, the more aero you want to be. And then the bike the bottle that was on the seat tube further back was the fuel bottle. And that's okay because I only need it every once in a while. And I was just going to have to estimate finishing it no faster than 1/4 of it every hour, that bottle. Now, my other fuel bottle, my other 4 hours of fuel, I went ahead and put in a fuel bottle, but this was going to be a cold race and coldish. And I knew that I wasn't going to have to load up with tons of water with long distances between checkpoints. So what I did was on my aero bars on my gravel bike, I put that fuel bottle with 4 hours of fuel and caffeine. And again, 350 calories per hour, which I've tested in racing or training rides just fine. And I had that dry, no water added to it yet. In between my aero bars, because I figured by the time I need to add, but by the time 4 hours in, I'm going to pass a water station or I can add water to it after a while. And the first third of the race is all uphill. So the less weight I'm carrying, the better. So I just had the fuel in there dry. I've done a couple races where I've had it in Ziplocs and I've poured it in, like bitten the corner off the Ziploc and poured it in. And I'm like, dude, I'm just putting it straight in this bottle. And because I'm not going to need any fluid for a while. I'm not going to need that much fluid, and I'll add fluid to it. And so what happened was, say about 3 hours in, I guess, I passed one of the water stations. There's a water station every couple hours, hour and a half or something like that. About 3 hours in, I passed a water station, and I'd made it past the top climb. That's what I did. When I made it to the top of the race, about like 2-3 hours in, that's when I topped off one water bottle, and then I added the water to the dry fuel powdered bottle. And then I laughed with somebody at the aid station. I said, I would say let's shake it some more, but I think on this gravel, it's going to shake itself plenty. Let's just shake it enough to make sure that it's full of water, and there's not any air in it. But then after that, I think the rattling this thing's gonna take is it's definitely gonna shake it. Like it's like riding gravel a lot of times, like riding a freaking paint can shaker on wheels. So I've done a couple races where I've had 2 camelbacks, and then it's just easier. And I had a drop bag halfway through, and it's just easier to drop off one camelback that you've emptied and then put on another one that's full. And that's what we did. We'll get to in a minute with Kai at his pro level swing through at an aid station halfway through. But for me, I was like, nah, if I need to refill this camelback, then I'll just stop and add water to it myself. I've done that plenty of times too. And it takes like a minute or two. But overall, like the race is 7.5 hours. I'm going to make that much. And so, and then in my frame bag, I have a top half frame bag. It's the length of the top tube, but I can still get 2 full water bottles in the frame down below it, right? And that I had gummy worms, and just in case, and I had some more gummy worms in my jersey pocket just in case. And then that was on the right side. And then also I had 6 servings of sodium electrolyte, sodium citrate electrolyte in a gel flask already made up. So all I had to do was either sip from it, because the water, when you get at aid stations, is just clean water, right? It doesn't have electrolyte in it. And you want to add electrolyte to your water as you go, and you don't know how much you're going to need. So you don't want to add it to your fuel because you don't know how much water you're going to drink. You want to add it to your water or sip on it as you go. And that worked out really good. So like as I got a fresh water bottle, I made sure to chug 1 serving of electrolyte fluid out of my gel flask as I was started on that water bottle. And that happened I think I refilled water bottles like maybe 2 times. Yeah. Anyway, maybe 3 times. But again, it never got over 50 something degrees. And then, so that was my strategy, was I was carrying all my fuel with me, but only had half of it with water, ready made. The other half was powder dry to save weight. Again, because the first half of the race is uphill. First third of the race is long gradual uphill. And then I'll add it at the top of the hill, and it'll help me go downhill faster, which it did. There's a Strava segment on the downhill, and I actually was faster than Kai on the downhill by 2 seconds, which I definitely made sure that I showed him that I was faster. He's like, well, you got aero bars. And I'm like, still, I'm just saying, And anyway, then, God, Strava segments are the best, aren't they? Keegan was infinitely faster than either one of us. And also, Never Second was the fuel sponsor for the race. And they told us that they go at the pre-race meeting, they said, basically, we have enough fuel that you could not bring any fuel or water with you and you'd be able to do this race. And then somebody else piped up in the background and said, but don't do that. And then everybody laughed. They're like, yeah, don't do that. Bring your fuel, but just don't worry about if you're going to run out of fuel. At the next aid station, there'll be plenty of fuel. So that alleviated any of my concerns. I'm like, if I'm short some fuel, I'll grab some gels. If I'm worried that I'm going to run out down the road, then I'll grab a couple gels of fuel. And it never crossed my mind the entire race, actually, which is unusual, which just shows how good my fueling and hydration stuff has been going really well. And also, I do a whole lot, everybody does probably a whole lot better in colder races because you're not having to manage hydration anywhere near to the level in a hot race. And let's compare that to Kai's fueling and hydration strategy. Is I kind of had to talk him into this, but then the more I talked him into it, the more I think I showed some videos of this happening with the pros doing this. And then it definitely happened during the race. We got footage of it. Kai was all in on it once he realized that this is the thing to do. But it took some convincing. And I said, what you need to do is 2 Camelbacks, okay? Because he's got 2 Camelbacks and 2 water bottles, and that's it. Right. And then I said, what are you doing for the first half of the race fuel and the second half of the race fuel? He goes, I'm putting them both. I'm filling up. I'm carrying all my fuel already liquid, ready to go in my 2 bottles. And I go, so all you have for fresh water is 1 Camelback? And he's like, yeah. And I said, what are you going to do? You're going to have to stop and refill that Camelback and you're going to lose the pack. And he's like, no, I go, no, dude, it's like, you are definitely going to need to add water it's 115 miles. You are going to need, water. And what are you going to do? And I said, okay, this is what you need to do. They said a place where you can hand up, and we learned this well before the race, like a week or so before the race. At the 55-mile mark, which is about halfway, the trail crosses a road, and there's a big gravel parking lot in that area, and that's where. If you want, they recommended to have no family support, anything out at the other aid stations because they're hard to get to because they're on trails and stuff out in the middle of nowhere. But this is the spot. If you're going to do your own support crew to help you out, have them here at the halfway point and they can hand you up stuff. And that everybody that was smart kind of figured, oh, this is the place, right? And so it wasn't just Kai, it was Keegan and everybody, like Sofia, all of them had this idea, which I recommended first. But it's just, if you've done enough of this stuff, it's kind of obvious. You drop off 1 Camelback and pick up another as you go, right? And so it took a little bit of convincing of Kai, to do this, but then he kind of started getting into it. And but then the thing he didn't like was we spent some good money on a Usui, which is the brand of it's a Camelback competitor that all the off-road people are using, and you can totally tell it's a Usui. They've got their branding down really good, where their hose is red. And anyway, that's how you do it, And so it's marketing, and then. And they've got these riders convinced that this is the better brand. And I haven't tried one. I'm sure they're fine, whatever. They're probably better. I can't see how they're much better. But anyway, Camelback's old news to these guys. You got to have a Usui, which is Swedish. And we're Swedish, so it's fun, And so we got him one. Well, if he switches it out, then he's doing half the ride with a Camelback, which is lame, And I'm like, dude, it doesn't, pick which one you want. Do you want the Camelback at the start where you're amongst all the pros at the start and you look cool with them at the start? Or do you want the Usui at the start? Or do you want to pick up the Usui halfway through and then come across the finish line wearing the Usui? And Usui has like a seatbelt looking strap on the chest. So you can tell, again, marketing, that it's a Usui. And I said, do you want your finish photo you wearing a Usui? And I think he decided that he wanted the Usui for the second half. And it's spelled USWE. And everybody loves them and they're great. And so the strategy is, as he comes tearing through this 55-mile aid station, drop off one Camelback and pick up another. And then this is where he and I differ on opinions. But again, I'm not up there with those guys. And I mean, I was at one point during this race. And so I'll tell you about that. So I get it. But man, he's like, I'm going to drop it off and then pick up another one while I'm riding. And I'm like, dude, just stop and put on the other one and then start again. And he's like, nope, don't want to lose the pack. I don't want to lose the pack. And I'm like, it can't be like that bad, like you catch up with him again. He's like, nope, I don't want to lose the pack. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'm like, dude, how are you going to put on, I can see taking one off, but how are you going to put on a Camelback or Usui pack? I've tried it while riding off-road. It took me 20 minutes to clip a Camelback, the chest strap on while riding on gravel because it's so bouncy that I was going to crash. And dude, it was rough, this section that we were going through. And he's like, I do it all the time. I ride no hands. I go, you're going to ride no hands at race pace in a pace line on gravel and reattach your chest strap. I said, I do not. One, don't do that. And two, I don't want to hear about it in the news that you're the person that took down a whole group of people, which happened, by the way, not to Kai, but to somebody else. When Keegan Swenson came flying through, he and the number two guy, the number two guy was slightly ahead of him at that point. And when he did the arm through the Camelback thing to pick up his Camelback, or Usui, I'm sure, swap out, the gravel took his wheel sideways and he crashed out and he took Keegan, the world champ, down with him. It was an accident, and they're both at fault for, it takes two people to have an accident. Yeah, it happens. And it's just like in triathlon where one of the most dangerous places in triathlon is the bike aid stations, right? Where people drop in bottles or come to a complete freaking stop, and in the middle of the race path. And so after that happened to Keegan and that other guy, God, what was his name? Chris Wark. Anyway, after they saw that happen, Emily and Kylie and some other people moved off to the side where the ground was firmer. And then, like Emily said, she went further up the trail to tell Kai that Kylie's off to the right. Anyway, so that's a look. And then Kai was going to just drink the fuel that he's got. That one Camelback swap should be enough water for the entire race. And then also, looking back and thinking about it, once you finish one water bottle, this is what I did too. Once I finished one fuel bottle, well, that's now an empty fuel bottle and it's an empty water bottle now. So now you can use it as a water bottle too, right? Whenever you want to pick up water and stop and fill up a water bottle. So that's some of the strategies there. And then Kai also packed some gummy bears just in case. Okay, so that's our fueling strategy before the race. And I'll tell you, like how it all went down. But then the clothing strategy is another thing because it's going to start off at 33, 34 degrees, a little bit of a tailwind, which makes it not as bad, right? And sunny, which makes it not as bad. I think it's going to start off at 40 degrees. But crisp air, a front had come through, so it's crisp and chilly. And the temperature's not really going to climb all that much. And even though I didn't shed any layers the entire race, I didn't get cold, but I felt a chill coming through my kit a little bit in the middle of the afternoon at the warmest. I think as I was going into a headwind and probably had built up some sweat, so it was a little bit damp. But anyway, what I did was pretty unusual. I wore two cycling jerseys. So one's really tight, and then the second one was just a slight bit looser. And what I've learned is with cycling jerseys that are full zip, you can obviously, unzip the front, and that has a major cooling effect. So you can be a little bit overdressed, but then unzip the front, and then it'll bring the temperature down. And then I had for my arms, I had arm coolers on, and then on top of that, arm warmers. And arm coolers act like arm warmers just fine. It is a layer of fabric. So they were double stacked. And my plan was if my arms started to get hot, then I could pull off the arm warmers. And then I still have another layer of fabric. My skin isn't totally exposed to the sun. And then also it's going to be sunny all day. And then I wouldn't need sunscreen on my arms. So that was my plan for that. And then I had a merino wool, No, I had a lycra-ish synthetic fabric beanie hat that I could pull down over the back of my neck a little bit. It's thin, but I could pull it. It's loose. So I could pull it over my ears and over the back of my neck a little bit. And that was nice. And then I taped up the vents on the front of my helmet. And I've done that 2 races now, and it's worked really nice. I bought double width vinyl electrical tape. And it doesn't matter if it says it's 10 millimeter because they'll say it's thicker, you know, it's more durable. Well, regular electrical tape is 7 millimeter thick. So it's only just a tiny bit thicker. You barely even notice it. I was worried it was going to be like dense, like fat vinyl. You know, it's not. It's thin. It's super thin. But anyway, because it's wider, it's an 1.5 inches wide. And regular electrical tape is usually like 3/4 of an inch wide, so it's double the width. And it was really easy to tape up the front vents on my helmet and leave the back vents open. And then what that does is it doesn't allow air to blow through. It does 2 things. It turns it makes it so you're not as cold, and it turns your vented cargo net of an air drag windsock of a helmet actually into more of an aero helmet, because now it's this dome rounded shape with hardly any vents in it, especially facing the front. And so it makes you faster to have your vents taped up. It's just, you would do this all the time, honestly, except you don't want to do it in the summer because, or when it's hot, right? Because the airflow is actually more valuable to keep you cool. You go faster if you're cooler than if you tape up the vents. And I've done it in a couple races already. It works great. So yeah, so I taped up the front and middle top vent of my bike helmet, and with black electrical tape, as long as you cut things cleanly, from a distance, nobody can tell that you've done that, so you don't look totally stupid. You'd have to be up close, and it's totally legal. You can do it. You don't want to modify your helmet with any kind of weight or structural stuff, but taping up vents is a very common thing for people to do. And then I did not wear leggings, because to get leggings off, you have to stop, right? And I'm like, it's not worth it. My legs don't get very cold on bike rides, and I know what temperature, it needs to be at freezing for me to wear leggings. And so I wasn't going to bother with that, because I knew if I wore them, they would get hot at some point in the day, and I need to take them off, and I didn't want to bother with that. Taking off leggings and then your leg cramps up. But to keep my legs warm as much as possible, I did wear, and I've done this twice now in cold races, I've got an old pair of black compression calf sleeves, not the full socks, because those hurt my toes because my feet are too big. But I got the calf sleeves. So I wore black socks and then calf sleeves, so it looked like it all matched. And they come up to, the top of the calves, just below the knee a little bit. And then they also kind of double as aero socks in a way, because they're ribbed a little bit. So those possibly make you faster. Oh, those little dogs. Hey. And so that was going to keep everything below the knees a little bit warmer, kind of like wearing leggings. And then also it helps blood circulation and keeps your legs fresher, because they are compression sleeves for your calves. It got that, again, from ultra running. And then people started wearing them for triathlon, or vice versa. And so I've got a pair, and they work great. Although they're starting to get runs in them like pantyhose, so I need a new pair eventually. And then for my socks, what I did was I had to choose. Am I going to do the grocery sack plastic bag toe covers where you stick your foot in it and then cut it to fit, and then it blocks the wind? And then I thought, no, I'm not really going to bother with that. We're starting off sunny with the wind, even though it's cold. But what I did bring was the socks I was going to wear were, they're not cycling socks. They're more like backpacking socks, but they're kind of light and airy and fluffy and thick, right? And I was like, that will create a layer of insulation. You don't want dense and thick, because that doesn't really do much. You want fluffy and a little bit thicker, and then those air pockets in there. And lightweight. That actually both creates a layer of insulation to keep your feet warm. But as things get sweaty and too hot, air does actually move through it, and actually it just like it moderates. It's like wool. It moderates your temperature instead of just cooking your feet, right? Because if you wear stuff that's too thick and too tight, then you end up getting too hot, and you want to trap air but also have airflow at the same time. It's kind of weird. But anyway, these socks were totally going to do the job, and they were black and they matched my calf sleeves. And then I wore double gloves. So bike gloves and then running glove liners on top of the bike gloves. And I've been doing that for years. And that works really good down to a certain temperature, down to freezing. And so we're getting there, but it wasn't there. So I knew that was going to be fine. And then I don't think I ever took them off, the glove liners. I think I wore them the entire race. Because what happens is usually you get hot and then you take those off and then you're fine, right? And they're real thin, so it's still easy to handle your bike and stuff. And then you're wearing bike gloves underneath, the fingerless bike gloves. And I was like, and then you're wearing layers, like you're not wearing full gloves in case you get too hot and you can take these off. And then the other cool trick that I did is I wore a neck gaiter, so a neck buff, which the bad thing about those is to get it off in case you do get too hot, you do need to take off your helmet, which is a problem. I wish they made like, they probably do, some like Velcro ones where you could tear it off if you need to. There's probably a cycling version of that. If not, somebody needs to invent that, where it's Velcro and once you get too hot, you could peel it off without having to stop to take off your helmet to get this thing off. But in all the drama with that Jumbo Visma terrible bike helmet that looks like Lord Helmet, it's just the worst design. I mean, it works better than anything, I'm sure, aerodynamically, but man, it made people mad. That helmet, if you look closely at the photos of them wearing those helmets, look again, they're also wearing neck gaiters, a lot of them, if not all of them. And what that does is these pro cyclists are skinny guys, right? So they got a skinny neck. So the large helmet and then their shoulders, right? Well, you have this skinny neck in between, and that's a place for air to get caught up in and drag and slow them down. So you try to fill that gap as much as you can with a neck gaiter, or a neck buff around your neck, and that fills in the gap. So I told Kai, I said, are you going to wear a neck buff? Because check out the Jumbo Visma guys and their helmets, the time trial guys, they're wearing them on colder races on purpose to fill in the gap and make them faster. And Kai goes, nah, I don't think I'm going to do that, because if I do get too hot, I don't want to have to stop to take it off. And I go, that's fair. I'm probably going to do it. I ended up doing it just for the novelty of it, to try something new. So yeah, now remember, I wore double jerseys, double arm warmers, double gloves, a neck gaiter, taped up helmet, a beanie, a thin beanie, calf sleeves, compression calf sleeves for ultra running and triathlon, and thick socks. And I'm wearing a Camelback, and I got on aero bars and bottles. I got an aero bottle on my front triangle, and then between my aero bars and also on the seat tube, I have regular long, tall, 22 ounce, whatever, bike bottles. And that was my bizarre setup. And I definitely had people walking by, stopping and looking at my bike. And I have a forward facing seat post to ride in the aero bars better. Yeah. So there's all So that's our two different setups. I forgot what Kai was wearing jersey wise. He was wearing a vest, I think. Yeah. And the strategy was as he was going through the 55-mile aid station, take off the Camelback, throw it on the ground. And also we have several Camelbacks laying around. So he has the most aero. We have a kind of a smooth shaped Camelback. And so he took that one and also throw that on the ground, and his vest is under that, right? And so then take off the vest and throw that on the ground and keep on riding. And I think the rest of it was, he might've been wearing arm warmers. I don't remember. And then shed those at some point. And I think the rest of it was just normal. You know, I told him, hey, tape up the front of your helmet. He's like, nope, I'm not doing that. It looks stupid. And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. I go, it's faster. And I always try to get him like, it's faster. And, but you know, at his age, you know, like style is faster than faster. So then, yeah, I think that's the two setups. So let me finish the rest of my Subway sandwich for dinner, because I'm going to run later, and then we'll catch back up and I'll tell you about how the race start went down, and then what I know from my race, from my perspective, and then we'll do the interview with Kai, and he tells the race from his perspective, because that's already all recorded, and that's a really good way for him to describe his race. All right, be right back. All right, we are on the car ride back from the Valley of Tears gravel race with a car full of support crew and racers. And let's start with, what place did you get, Kai?
37th.
37th place, Open Pro, Kai Blankner. How did the race go for you?
It went really well. Yeah, probably the best longer race I've had in a while.
So this was your first race where you used a proper warm-up apparatus. What was it?
It's like a cheaper model of the feedback rollers where it holds your bike in the front and it's rollers in the rear. I don't really know the brand that it's called. It's in the car, but I can't see it. So
what was it like using it? How did it help you? What did you do on it?
it was just easy to get a good warm-up in a controlled environment, not trying to roll around with traffic everywhere and a race venue all around.
And I noticed it's really loud, which is very intimidating to your competition.
Yeah, the gravel tires were very loud on there, so I could only imagine what mountain bike tires are going to sound like on it.
That's the side effect, the bonus of using one of those things, is people are like, oh my God, look at that guy. And what did you think about the sand pits?
I wasn't expecting them. It was a lot deeper than I thought it was going to be at some points. I'm glad it did rain the day before, maybe the day before that even. It probably helped out a bunch. And yeah, you could really tell who some of the roadies were, not able to make it through the sand sections at all. And I learned a while back from you, just lean back and kind of let the front wheel go in sand. So yeah, it wasn't too bad unless it got too deep and you had to run your bike.
That's true. If you can get through almost any sand by riding almost entirely on your rear wheel, all your weight on your rear wheel and letting the front wheel float. And you can tell, roadies probably don't know that as well.
Yeah.
And the front wheel will dig in and then turn sideways because they got too much weight on the front wheel. What did you think about the rest of the course? What were some highlights of the rest of the course?
I would say, the first 30 miles were beautiful with going through, what would you call that? With where there was the walls of rock on each side.
They call that the limestone. Oh, that was like a slot canyon.
Yeah.
That is, we were at the southern end of Palo Duro Canyon, which is Texas's own kind of Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And so it was like going through, like, it looked like a miniature Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Really pretty. Just a gradual climb for about 30 miles. Really pretty. Going through the tunnel, the Clarity Tunnel. It was really cool.
Which was pitch black at one point.
Yeah, you couldn't see anything for about 5 seconds. It was crazy.
I remembered right before I went through, I remembered to close one eye so it would be ready for the darkness.
Yeah.
And it helped a ton.
Really?
For about 10 seconds, yeah. And then there was no light, so then it didn't help at all.
Yeah.
But the Clarity Tunnel's full of bat poop, which is like a fine silt.
Yeah.
They got kind of thick in the middle, okay? And then, let's see, we've got Emily, Kai's mom, right here. What did you think about the fact that you weren't able to see the Clarity Tunnel?
That's what we're going to start with.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really wanting to go see it. I wanted to go hike through it or ride through it or whatever.
Oh, so what tires were you riding? And there's something kind of special about them. They're a little bit different.
The Specialized S-Works Pathfinder Pro, I think. Or is it just S-Works?
I think the S-Works ones are just called Pathfinders, like S-Works Pathfinders.
Okay. So yeah, the S-Works Pathfinders, they only come in a size 42, which are perfect, I think. Flat, a smooth center, and some tread on the outside really helped. Probably a lot in some of the sections where it got sandy and a long stretch of road. That flat center really helped.
So the cool thing about the S-Works Pathfinder, there's Pathfinder Pros, which I was running a Pathfinder Pro on the front of my bike, but there's a level up from that, which is S-Works, right? S-Works Pathfinders,
Yeah.
which are even faster and fancier. And then what was it like trying to ride with the Pro Pace up front?
The Pro Pace. I wouldn't say I was with the pros, but I don't think I was ever at the speed like that Keegan or some of the other guys were at, just because it got separated so fast. Less than 5 miles in, with a sand pit, and there was a big wreck, and it separated everybody up. But I had some of the pro females. Emily Newsom, she passed me at like mile 20 in a group, and it was kind of hard to stay on with their pace, just because I didn't want to blow up later. So I was like, okay, I got to stay at my own pace here and not try and stay with them. But I mean, for the female pros, I mean, they were cruising.
I noticed that when I was riding at race pace of the lead group when the 70 milers caught up with me, that it was insane. Like how the risk taking and just like letting your bike just go straight and just holding on. Yeah.
No, it's definitely a different type of racing. Through the section right before mile 55, it was just a really long straightaway on the old railroad lines. That was not fun, because you're in a pace line and you just have to trust with the people in front of you, the line that they're going to take, because you can't go on the other side of the road because it's just the grass coming out of the road where it'll knock you off your bike if you hit it wrong. Yeah. So you just have to trust that the people in front of you are going to take the right line. And for me, being in the pace line at that point, I would have my left hand like fully holding on to the bars with not holding on to the brake at all on the left side, and then just 2 fingers on the brake on my right side, and then the rest of my hand holding on to the bars. Just because it was not safe to be holding both brakes, because you don't have a lot of grip.
Yeah. But also we noticed that there was hardly any, I think maybe I saw one person with a flat tire. So if you're the type of person that doesn't want to do a gravel race where you get a lot of flats, this would be a good one. Yeah. Because there was, like, as opposed to Unbound, where you just get constant flats because of the flint rocks. This was like the opposite of that. So what was it like at the start? Because they had something like the 70 or 100 of you open pros. How many was it? 70? 75 open pros up front. Yeah. And then so you were up there at the front with like Justin McQuerry and Keegan and Sofia and Alex Howes and people like that. And Tobin. Yeah. We've got to give a shout out to Tobin. And then Oderblad. How do you say his last name? It's hard to say. I don't remember how to say his last name. But what was it like being up at the front? It's such a big name race. I mean, this was kind of like a much smaller Unbound, but with all the pros of Unbound, but just a smaller field.
It was really cool. Hearing all of their call-ups, it was really cool. Yeah. It was really, really cool. Being right behind them. Yeah. And then like just having just random people you don't know next to you, and then they do a call-up, and it's a World Tour pro that was just standing right next to you that you had no idea who that was, just standing right there.
Yeah, I was thinking about you because you've had call-ups where your name's been called up, at the NICA race, mountain bike races. Yeah. And so you know what that's like to be in the mix where the people around you are getting called up or you're getting called up. I thought that was really special. And then what about the cold weather? Did your toes ever end up getting cold?
Yeah, they got cold at the start for the first... Oh, it was cold for a while. Probably 30 miles. They were cold. And then I took them off later.
So let's move on to some of your support crew here. And how did you do this infamous camelback swap?
Why don't you say who your support crew was?
Well, wait. But first, also, before that even happened, somebody in our support crew managed to get a video of a crash of a hand-up that happened. Ma'am, could you please give us your name and how you are involved in this event?
Well, female pro Sofia refers to me as Kai's girlfriend, but I'm Kylie Kramer.
Oh, you have a real name.
Yeah, actually. Part of Kai's name, so it's not hard to remember. But anyway, so I was actually prepared to watch Keegan and his crew, because they're pros. I was trying to watch and see how they handed off their Camelback and their bottles and everything else, because, I mean, they've seemed pretty good at it, because they've been, doing it professionally for a while, and so I was kind of wanting to watch them and everything, so I was going to video how they handed it off and just kind of how they, held the Camelback in, different ways and everything, because I had never handed a Camelback. I've only ever done bottles, and so I was videoing it, and then Chase, the biker, actually wrecked right in front of Keegan, and so that caused Keegan to wreck as well, and so their Camelback handoff didn't go so smoothly.
Did you make that siren sound right now to add to the sound of the crash?
Chase, yeah, no, that was me. But anyways, and so I was super nervous after watching that, just because, they weren't able to hand off their Camelback, so I had no idea how I was going to hand it off to Kai. And then I got to talking to Alex's housewife, Jessica, and she had kind of showed me how to hold the Camelback in a certain way with the Kai likes to wear it with the tube on the right side, and so she told me to hand it to hold it up really high with the left side of the strap. That way his arm can go through the right side without any confusion or tangling. And so
Oh, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, and so I actually followed some other guy who was, I'm assuming was trying to hand to another pro. I don't exactly remember who it was, but he went across the street a little bit into more of a grassier section.
Just so people know, we are actually in the middle of Fort Worth, I think, right now.
There's another one coming too. So.
And there's been an accident in front of us on our drive home.
This
is not Kylie making siren sounds in the background.
Keegan wreck.
Okay.
And so they think that one of the main causes of Chase's wreck was just because the gravel was so slick, and so it kind of caused his front wheel to slide out from underneath him a little bit. And so I saw another guy, he walked across the road into more of a grassier section. It just seemed easier for them to be able to make that handoff. And so I kind of followed him, and that way I felt more comfortable with handing it to Kai. And so we managed to do a very, very good handoff. He didn't slow down or hit me at all. So it was very, very well executed. Yeah.
You got it on video, too.
Yes, and I got it on video.
So where's this video posted, by the way? I've heard 2 or 3 people have posted it. It's such a good video.
Yeah, I after the race, Sofia hadn't seen it either, so I actually airdropped it to Sofia.
You were hanging out with Sofia?
Yeah.
The Sofia after the race?
Yeah, the Sofia. Kai's mom was actually sitting down eating a casual dinner with Sofia.
I'm Kai's mom.
What? Who are you?
I'm Kai's mom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're Kai's mom.
You're Kai's girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm Kai's girlfriend. Yeah. But it was pretty casual. I did enjoy how neither one of the Keegan or Sofia, they didn't really act like they were better than anyone else or anything. They were just normal.
Even though they are.
Yeah, even though they
are literally the best. They're better than everybody else.
Yeah, very much better. But it was kind of cool just to kind of sit down and talk and hang out with them as if they were just normal people. But yeah, it was pretty cool. That was the most pros I've ever been around, so it was an interesting environment.
So Kai, what did you think of Kylie's hand-up skills?
That it was the best one you've ever gotten.
Best I've ever gotten.
What? Kylie? What's that?
Yeah, obviously,
Okay. Now, Kai's mom, how did you manage to keep yourself from getting involved in this and not trying to hand it up yourself?
Well, Kai had asked Kylie to, number one. And after we saw the whole thing with Keegan, Kylie, we quickly figured out a different plan. And so that was all her. So I was further up to give Kai the message that Kylie would be further down.
Oh, yeah.
Because we didn't want him to slide out on the gravel. But when Kai came up, I'm pretty sure he mouthed the words or said out loud with his face, "Oh shit," I didn't have anything. I was
Where's Kylie?
Oh, and I said Kylie's further down, where it's easier to hand off. But anyway, everybody was freaked out there after that happened. Everybody.
Yeah, because watching that video, Again, it's on Sofia's and yours, right? On your Instagram feeds.
Yeah.
And then, it looked like Chase, whatever his last name is. It looked like his front wheel just like dug in, which could happen on loose gravel. So that's a thing to know, is don't do hand-ups on loose gravel. So
prior to that, though, while we were waiting, I mean, like, Kylie and I had so much fun the whole time. It was so exciting. But when we were at the 55-mile mark, and we're just kind of like hanging out with the different people that were looking for their people, Kylie started talking and I started talking to this little girl that had this awesome little pink bike, and she's just riding around, and everything. And Kylie asked, "Who's your dad?" And she's like, "His name is Alex," or something like that. Mm-hmm. And we were like, okay, that's cool. And we talked, and she was going to hand him his bottle. Turns out it was Alex Howe's daughter. And then I started talking to his wife, Jessica, and they had a dog. So I pet the dog. But it was just so cool to be like right there. And then like the support car for whoever, that was that Mazda, whatever, looked like a, like in the tour, like that's what it looked like. It was just so cool to just be right there.
Kai, how did the y'all had a lead out vehicle, look like a Gator or something like that?
Yeah.
Where did they actually turn off? How far did they lead you guys before they turned off?
I don't know. it was such a
disappeared?
big field in front of you, you couldn't see what was really going on up there.
Okay.
I don't know.
And then that's the one where Kylie and I, we had gone to where we thought we saw some other people had stopped, that we were going to see Kai cross over the road. And then that Gator thing went by us, and everybody kind of looked at us like, what are y'all doing? And then we figured out we were in the wrong place. And so then we drove really fast down a little bit further, and Kylie and I sprinted out of the car. We were running, and we saw Kai right then go by. Yeah, that was really cool.
So there's a cool photo I've seen somewhere of Kai in a sprint finish at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And what was going down then, Kai? What led up to that?
Yeah, at mile 104, we were in a group, and we decided to stop at the last aid station, but someone needed to get water, and we all decided to stop together, but I didn't need to stop, just because I had...
you had really good support crew that had already given you all your stuff.
Support crew, I didn't have to stop, so I just kind of slow rolled and let them catch back up, and then there was an attack, which I was not feeling it, so I didn't go after it, and then it was just 3 of us left in that group, and I was like, oh, I could catch these guys in front of me, because it didn't look like they were getting any farther ahead of us. They were not too far down there. I was like, oh, I can catch them. And so I went off of the group that I was in then and didn't end up catching them, but one of the guys that was in the group with me, he caught back up to me, and we kind of stayed together the rest of the time until the end, and it came down to a sprint finish between him and I. Oh,
so yeah, the last few hundred feet of the finish has a hard left turn, downhill 90-degree left turn. What did you do in that? Where were you, in the left? Were you on the right? What was that like?
I was on the inside, so the left. We were kind of just right next to each other through that whole turn, parallel to each other.
Yeah. And then you like got him by like half a wheel or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's a cool photo.
Mm-hmm.
That was Kylie's photo, by the way.
Oh, Kylie yet again getting
She needs to
be a career of race photographer or videographer.
I'm that good, actually.
All right, so then let's see. There was this all hanging out with the pros after the race and getting signatures. So Kai, you got your race plate off your bike and took it up to a bunch of pros. What are all the signatures you got on the race plate?
How'd that happen, by the way, Kai? How were you able to do that?
Somebody wants credit.
Kai's mom introduced me to Sofia, and then that led to Keegan, meeting Keegan and all that.
Okay, and you're blowing it off right now. You were on the inside. You were like, oh my god, I'm at Keegan. You were like that. We were all
wait,
that.
Shh, this is a podcast. Okay, he's got to be cool. Everything's cool. All right.
Sophia,
all right, he's got to play it down. Like Kai's one of them.
Mom chased after
Kai's one of them, just like them. Okay. So who else signed it?
The Spratt twins, Mark and Nathan, and then Alex House.
We found them. They were climbing on the tractor. They seemed a little amazed by the green tractor, as Kai's mom was as well. But
Different tractor.
Yeah. But
it was the same tractor.
I think it was the same tractor. But Kai was like, I think that's the twins. I was like, oh, like we should go get them to sign it. And so we interrupted their playing on the tractor to get their signature, and they seemed very
they were
excited.
super cool. Yeah.
So, what would you want different about the race? I wish it was a little bit warmer at the start, for example. Those are things I would want. And I wish that the Clarity Tunnel, the Bat Cave Tunnel, which is really something to see, was more accessible for other people to see somehow, so that y'all could see it next time. What are some things that you would change, Kai?
I don't know. I think the race was very, very organized, very well. I don't really know. I don't really have anything. I might have changed the last 5 miles. That road was not fun. But other than that, I liked it a lot.
Oh my.
There's quite an accident on one side of the road over here. It's a long drive for us, and it was into a headwind. Now it's a headwind both ways, so we're burning through gas, because the front came through. So it was a headwind on the way there, and now it's a headwind on the way back. Now the front flipped. Oh, it was only a $20 entry fee this year, and so I'm hoping they don't do what the Gravel Locos race did, which was the first year it was free somehow, like donations if you wanted. And then the very next year it was like $300 or whatever it is, which made it like super expensive. But what was the big announcement about prize money at the right before we started the race?
Right when we started, they were like, "Yeah, it's gonna be." The Fairley family's donating to 10 Deep, and then they were like, "Yeah, but actually they're doubling it, 20 Deep." Right when we were about to start, they were like, "Yeah, we're actually going to double the prize, how deep the prize money goes."
Yeah, which is I thought was really, really cool for them to do that, and unusual because they didn't need to, because the race was already full.
Yeah.
The race was seconds from starting.
Yeah.
There was no reason whatsoever for them to double the prize money. They did not need to, and they did it anyway because they were so excited about how the race was coming together, I guess. And the Fairley family is apparently out of Amarillo, I think. And they own the Hill Bike Shop, or did y'all catch any of that?
No, I wanted to look that up.
Yeah. Well, we'll look into it. All right, so then let's see, how sore are you, Kai?
I'm a little sore, but nothing crazy.
How sore are you, Kai's girlfriend? Also, a.k.a. Kylie?
I mean, my arm is...
She got a lot of ant bites. That's what she's been complaining about.
Anyways, my arm's a little sore because it's kind of terrifying to hold a 5-pound camelback when someone's flying at you about 30 miles an hour and they're not slowing down for any means.
Did he slow down at all, or he just went blasting through?
Not at all.
You think he was doing that just to try to impress you?
No. I think he's got the race head.
I think he was doing it just to impress you, like how fast he could go.
I mean, at the end he did say thank you, which was very sweet.
I don't think I went by you that fast.
I've never heard Kai say that.
You were
There
going
was
fast.
dirt kind of flung up on me a little, so I mean you had to have been going pretty fast to cause a bit of a wind when you went by, but
a cool breeze.
But yeah, a cool breeze. But that was all.
Lil Breezy? It's Kai's nickname.
Little breezy. Yeah, but that was all.
All right. How are you sore? Kai's mom, a.k.a. Emily?
Who's also sponsored by BioFreeze.
Okay, yes, BioFreeze would be amazing.
BioFreeze is not a sponsor of this podcast and does not endorse any statements made by this person.
I'm a little sore just from sprinting to go see Kai and various other places that we had to be. So yeah, I'm a little sore from that.
What did one of your sprints look like?
I was sprinting pretty hard. Both of us were.
Are your arms sore from holding up the camera all day with so many?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Or picking the cotton.
Yeah, what random objects did you pick up off the ground?
Okay. So when we went and looked at briefly at one of those side roads on the day before, because y'all wanted to see how sticky the dirt and mud was going to be, so you got a little rock, which I have. That's like an example of the
bike trailway, which was 30% of the course was paved. Some of it was paved in lava rock, which is unusual because sometimes it's pumice, so it's lighter than water. It was kind of cool.
Anyway, so you picked that up, and then, we kept passing cotton fields whenever Kylie and I were going out to the different checkpoint things, and so I really wanted to get some cotton. Because whatever. I mean, anyway, so when we had a couple minutes, parked on the side of the road, and I went out into one of the fields and got some cotton still on the little stalk or whatever you want to call it, stem thing, and I'm gonna do something with it. And then also all the dirt that came off my shoes from being on the trail the day before, I put it in a little cup, and I'm gonna keep it because that was like part of the.
You can put it in a glass jar and label it Kai's Dirt.
Well, Kylie did something really cool for Kai when he got on dirt camp racing team, and she made him a little jar with dirt and other stuff for that, and that was anyway. So I'll figure something out. So everybody's making fun of me because I went and got cotton out of the field, and Kai acted like it was hurting his hand to put it in the car a while ago. But anyway, it's fine.
So for Kai, for you to have a good solid finish in a race time, what was your race time?
6:07:53.
And was that an hour and a half faster than me?
Yeah.
Kai knows immediately. He's like, yep.
I think so, but it was still like y'all both did really well.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all were at places sooner than we, I think, thought y'all would be.
So, Kai, what was your fueling strategy? What did you do?
I mean, my plan was to eat a bar and a gel every hour.
A bar of what?
Just I'll just say a Cliff Bar, an hour, and then a gel, and then I had my bottles set up to where I would finish each one. There were 2 of them, each one in about 3 hours each.
What was in the bottles?
Gatorade, sodium citrate, and table sugar.
Okay,
and just to finish those each one bottle every 3 hours. But my stomach was not cooperating with me yesterday, so I didn't eat as much or drink as much as I needed to. But I mean, considering the fact that I had like nothing in my stomach the whole day, I think I did very well.
Yeah. Well, when you're going that hard, it's hard to digest. Your stomach kind of shuts down.
Yeah.
And you lost a bottle.
Yeah, and I did lose a bottle.
So I'm riding along. There's this big battle going on over these Schwinn bottles from
They're
either
Kai's
Walmart or
bottles.
Target. Okay. So when we got Kai set up at college, we realized that he didn't have any bike bottles. He didn't bring enough bike bottles with him. And so we went to, what are y'all talking about?
We're just laughing at it.
We went to Target or Walmart to get Kai some bike bottles. And then I was all mad because we have 5,000 water bottles at the house. And why are we, and they're very overpriced at wherever we got them from. They were like $12 or something like that, a bottle or something stupid. And then on top of that, Kai came home one weekend and used them and left one at the house, and I had been using it and fell in love with it. I decided it was really great. And then so I was going to use it during this race, and then Kai and I got into a fight over who was going to use this water bottle. He wanted it back for this race.
And I got it back.
And briefly, Kai got it back, and then, well, you still probably have the other one, right? You got 2 of them, right, Kai?
No.
Huh?
What? No.
Okay.
I lost one.
No, but you have 2.
You have 1 bottle left.
How many bottles do you have left of this one?
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so, goddamn. So then, anyway, I'm riding along on mile 80 because I made a mental note of what mile it was at so I could ask later. And possibly, it turns out the course, we're leaving town. The course is way the wrong direction for us to go get it. But I see this Schwinn, what looked like a Schwinn clear bottle with a black top and a red tip on it, and it was almost empty, but it had like some kind of like yellowish fluid in it. I thought it was kind of orange, but it was yellow. And I was like, oh my God, I wonder if that's Kai's bike bottle that we'd been arguing over and that I wanted to carry. And then now it's on the side of the highway, but I was going like downhill, I think, at a pretty good speed. And I was getting tired, and I wasn't going to turn around and go back and get it because I didn't know it was yours or not. But then what happened, Kai? What's the situation with the bottle?
I drank from it and was trying to put it back, and it just fell out of my hand.
Right about that spot?
Yeah, right about that spot.
So it turns out that was the bottle.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants Kai's original
Kai Blankner.
and Brett Blankner's, which even ups the value even more.
It's yours. It's Kai's. We bought it for Kai.
It's a double value bottle. You can go out and find a mile 80 on the 115 mile course.
And then Kyle signed it for you.
Yeah,
Because he's
mail
pro.
it to Kai in San Marcos, Texas, and he'll autograph it and mail it back.
That's right.
All right.
So Dad will probably go get it now and mail it for you.
Yeah,
to
I'm going to spend
autograph.
$500 in gas to go back and get it. And then, let's see, what other cool things happened? What am I missing?
I mean, I was bouncing off the walls, the whole day, and then we were trying to tell y'all all the stuff that happened. It was so hard to condense 6-7 hours of what we experienced support crew wise that y'all had no clue about, and y'all skipped the whole part where Kylie may want to say it, but yeah, watching the start and the call-ups from our point of view, and Kai was right there and you were right there with all the pros. That was amazing. And then the start was really cool, and then later we saw all the different things during the race, and then we saw Keegan finish, obviously, and then I was like, are you gonna go? Because he was down there and he turned around and he was already starting to get interviewed and pictures taken, and she was, you want to go down there or something like that. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going. And so I'll have a picture of me with a selfie with him in the background, and then I'm pointing and he's being interviewed, and then lots of pictures. Well, then he went up further to another interview, and Kylie got that all on video, the interview, and then she asked him if she could get a selfie with him, and so she got it, and I ran back up there. I was like, wait, can I get one too? And so I got a picture too. So we were so excited just about that, and then with no clue at that point that we would even talk to or meet Sofia and Keegan. And then later, after everything else happened, the finish, we had parked our car in a different place from where we first parked when we got there, and looked up, and one of y'all, Kai had finished, we were all sitting there together, or Kai was, and it was Sofia walking her bike past us, and somebody said, that's Sofia. And so as she got closer, I said, hey, congratulations, Sofia. And she's like, oh, thank you, whatever. And after she went by, Kylie watched where she went. It was 2 cars ahead of us, parked right there. And then I was like, Kai, you should have gotten her to sign your race plate or whatever. And I don't know. I don't remember what Kai's initial response was. And I go, I'll go. So I took it. I had a Sharpie in my nurse bag, because I always have one. And so then I went down there, and she was sitting on the ground. This is what Kylie was talking about, eating her plate of barbecue and stuff after the race that they gave out. And so I was like, hey, is there any way that my son could get your autograph? And she was like, oh my gosh, yes. And so I sat down with her and talked to her for 10 minutes, sitting on the ground. I wasn't eating, but she was. And then she wiped her hands off and everything, and she wanted to make sure she didn't mess up Kai's race plate. It was so awesome. And so then we talked about her race and everything, and then she asked about us and where we were from and about Kai and all the stuff. And then I, because I'm Kai's mom, gushed and said, I was like, Keegan is Kai's idol. He is everything. They look very similar, the hair and everything was just hilarious, and she was happy to hear all that and stuff. And then she goes, well, whenever they're supposed to be over here any minute, we'll just, I'd love to, or she said, we'll introduce, he can talk to him or whatever. I was like, oh, he would love that. And I was trying to be just like Kai. I was trying to be cool, but inside
Be cool.
inside I was like, holy shit, Kai's gonna die. But anyway, and we talked about her bike and so many things. And
what was she riding
so
again?
nice.
What kind of bike was it?
It was
S-Works.
Oh, Specialized S-Works, yeah.
So pretty, yeah. And yeah, she was just super nice and chill, just like Kylie said. It was like you were talking to your best friend. I mean, then I walked back down there and told Kai and Kylie, and they were already kind of starting to walk towards me. And I was like, oh my gosh, Kai, she signed it. And I showed Kai and gave it to him. And I said, and Keegan is supposed to be coming over here now, and that they would, she'd get him to sign it too. And so then we all walked back down there and we all talked. And that's when Kylie and she were talking, because I said something about the crash. I went back to get my phone, and she wanted me to airdrop it to her, but Kylie had a better video, and so then Kylie airdropped it to her, the crash, because they didn't know about it, and then Keegan like walks up, and it was really cool. And
So Kai, what was it like meeting Keegan? But be cool.
Say it
Okay.
again.
It was pretty cool, you know.
Did anybody confuse you for Keegan? Because y'all look so much alike.
Not that I know of.
I mean, it would have been awesome because both of them had on like puffy jackets at this point.
Oh, somebody came up to Kai and said, "Hey, Keegan."
But no, what I was going to say is if they could have both had on their race kits and like everything, like Kai has the blender sunglasses. I mean, they look almost exactly alike.
Yeah, that
and
would've been
so
cool.
just their body shape and all. Anyway, it was really cool. And so we all got pictures with them. And
So I got to say, it was really funny when I finished my race. Usually, you're there,
yeah.
and then you're like, "Hey, how was it? How are you doing?" And did you?
I did.
How are you? Well, maybe for a millisecond you
Yeah,
did.
maybe a million.
And so instead it was, oh my god, you wouldn't believe what happened. And I'm like, what? And you're like, you don't want to hear about how much it sucked for me at the end, and I was so badass and I battled through it and everything. Like, no, we got
say it like that.
we got autographs by
I said Kai
Keegan.
got to meet Keegan and talk to him.
And Sofia and Alex, and it just went on and on and on. I was like, what? And you were like, yeah, for real. And I was like, no way, dude, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And then my biggest disappointment as I went over there to get my free beer, and they were all out of IPAs, and all they had was Coors Light.
Coors Light Ultra.
And I took like two sips of
it.
it, and then you said, baby, we got IPA in the car. And I go, good, because I'm not drinking this
I was
garbage.
shocked you were wasting time even going over there.
It tasted, just tastes like water. I don't see what the point is.
But
and-
so to finish what I was saying, it was so exciting that I think that was probably one of the most exciting and fun races that we've gone to watch y'all and support y'all. And both of y'all were in it, and we saw so many things, and it was just so cool. I mean, we had a blast. The whole thing, start to finish. And all the people, like Kylie said, I ended up standing next to some girl. She was waiting on her boyfriend to finish. And later, she ended up getting first place on the podium in her age group. And she came up to me later and she was like, oh my God, I got first place. I didn't even realize. And she was talking. And then we just didn't even realize, like that at first, that was Alex Howe's little girl. And just like everybody was just kind of mixed in together. And then it was just really cool. And Kai y'all both looked great. It was a very exciting race.
So, Kai, what's your next race?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the calendar. But
What are you thinking it's going to be?
maybe Gravel Locos.
Oh, Gravel Locos. I love the scenery, Gravel Locos.
Yeah.
Kylie, what's your next move as being Kai's girlfriend and therefore his support crew?
I have work this week.
We'd like to point out that we also have
I don't know.
names and jobs and our own things that we do.
No,
I just wanna point that
that's
out.
not possible.
Just like
The
Alex-
world
Alex-
revolves around the bike racing. But, Kylie has started spin class. So tell us a little bit about that. Are you good at it?
Freaking hard, dude.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, Kai's not very good. I'm a lot better than him. And he struggles to keep up with all of our sprints.
Do they do like the metrics to show like who's going faster and stuff?
No.
So there's no proof that you're actually a better cyclist, Kai.
Well, the frequent times that Kai stops and, doesn't make it through the things that I continue
All
to
right,
go
I would just
through.
like to point out, I had a race the next day.
And I had also done spin class Monday, Wednesday, and then we were there Friday. So I had also done.
And
the
also
same
you
thing.
worked how many hours that week? Like 70 something hours?
Yeah, something.
And a
20
full-time
hours,
college student?
Something slight,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you're the real pro around here?
Yeah, I think so.
Get her out on a bike, we'll see.
I mean, I can be kind of sprint any day, so.
And you weren't you the state champion in something?
Yeah,
let's go back to that.
I just, did powerlifting back in the old days last year.
You were Texas state champion?
Yeah, second place. in the state.
Second place. State.
So, it's nothing much, So,
I always make a point. Every time we met somebody, I pointed out, well, Kylie, she's going to Sam Houston and everything, and she's the second place girls powerlifting champion for the state of Texas, and everybody's like, what? Because then they see
Somebody needs to
Kylie
get that
and
girl on
she's
a
like-
bike.
and then she's like so like petite and pretty, and you would not think that she could lift that much weight, but don't fuck with Kai's girlfriend. Just saying.
Oh,
Get the wrath.
okay.
Yeah, it was awesome. So we're very proud of you, Kylie. So it's very great.
She's probably like super strong from having to carry all of Kai's stuff.
All the camelbacks,
carry the
yeah,
weight
me
of
too.
carry the weight of dating Kai.
What's your next race then? Smarty Pants?
Me?
Since you asked Kai, what's yours?
Well, Gravel Locos if Kai's doing
That's
it.
what you keep saying.
I love that
You were
race.
upset that Kai didn't want to do that for a while.
Yeah. I love the scenery, and it's only half as far away as this race was.
Because it's the same date as like a timber race or something. We can talk about this later. But
And now having done it before, I know like how to race it better. I really liked that race last year. I mean, the scenery was awesome. It was just nonstop, like kind of like hill country, but green. It was real pretty.
yeah, and I didn't get to go to that one, so we'll see. So I'm looking forward to next year when they have this race again, that we take our camper and we take all the dogs.
Yeah, that'll
All
make
three.
supporting us really easy.
Joey, River, and Ripple.
That's okay.
And we go early, and then we just talked about this. I mean, I want to see the canyon and the pretty parts that y'all talked about, because we unfortunately couldn't see that this time.
We could take you to see the hellscape that
I
is Tampico Tundra. That was just unbelievably rugged.
And I want to go in the tunnel. I want to see the tunnel.
We could take you anywhere to see a tunnel.
No, it's
There's
not-
probably like several on the way home.
But we'll go early, and that way we can enjoy that. So
There's an underpass. There's several of them near our house, just a few miles away, that have bats. So we could just like have you close your eyes and listen to the bats, and then tell you you're in the tunnel, the bat tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to fly.
no.
Well, it's been nice interviewing you.
Yeah, it was awesome. I am so proud of you and Kai, both of y'all, for your own race and everything. And yeah, it was seriously. I think
we had no
maybe
mechanicals.
That we were really worried that
Yeah.
y'all were going to have some sort of issue
And,
or a wreck, or we kept hearing about wrecks, and we're like, oh my god, I hope it's not
Yeah.
either one of ours. So anyway,
And
it's very
that's
fun.
my first gravel race where I really raced part of it. Like I kept up with the race pack for a while, because I wanted to make sure, I'll talk about this earlier probably in the podcast, but I wanted to make sure I made the cutoff. They announced that there's a cutoff when you go through town, right? At mile 77. And it seemed, if it was just pavement, the cutoff time seemed ridiculously slow. But knowing gravel, and you don't know what you're getting into with gravel, and also mechanicals that you could have, the cutoff time sounded actually like it's something you need to be a little bit wary of, right? And then when they added on top of that, the reason they had the cutoff time was it was going to get dark if you were going that pace. And they didn't want people out there in the dark. And I was like, oh crap, that you definitely don't want to be riding gravel out in the dark. And so, especially unknown, like you've never been out there.
Like you were in the be like you're in the tunnel the whole time.
It was not,
So it's like, wow,
not a good
I don't
idea.
see anything.
When I got caught by that group and they were booking it, I figured I could latch on and draft and ride with them at this race pace, and then make sure that I made that cutoff time.
And you did.
And I did. I beat it by an hour.
Yeah, full hour.
And so then the rest of the race, I was like back to just, like trying to keep up with a person or two that was kind of fun to, like stay with them and be like a little bit competitive and stuff like that, and kind of ride the rest of the course. And yeah, that wore me out actually, like going that race pace. But I got a really good dose of like what race pace gravel is like with really fast people. And it's literally like riding, it would be like riding a high-powered e-bike.
Yeah, and
that's-
if you wrecked, it would
Yeah,
feel
I
good.
mean,
Hit
you're
by bullet.
providing the power, but that's what it feels like. It's like you're going so fast, and you're basically on the edge of control. And because you can't see in front of you, because there's somebody in front of you, because you're taking turns, like drafting off of people, and because it's off road, you don't know what's coming up, like rocks and sticks and stuff, and ledges and bumps and stuff like that. And like for example, there's places where these bridges crossed over stuff. The edges of bridges, these bridges had lips on them, the little concrete foundations that they were up on. So you could have a 2-inch jump up onto. They were kind of sloped a little bit where people had tried to push gravel up on them to make it so that whatever. But gravel racing is the type of bike racing where often you are bunny hopping over stuff. And that's a trip. And then also just sailing off of things and landing on both, trying to land on both tires at the same time to kind of smooth out the impact of the land. So that was really cool. All right, well, thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Yep, it was good.
I had a good time.
We will not stay at that hotel again either. That's a whole other story, but we're going to take the camper.
Yeah. All right, we are going to leave off on the show right here and pick up next week with my recount of how my race went down, play by play. And like I promised earlier, the full race pre-meeting audio. And also, I have lined up 2 interviews, and I want so bad to tell y'all who they are, but it's bad luck to mention interviews before they happen, because anything could go wrong, and then you leave people disappointed. But if they work out, both are fantastic, and one combines triathlon and gravel in a way that will rock your world. I'm very excited about both of them. This is going to be great. All right, don't forget that you can get coaching, endurance coaching, by sending me an email at texafornia@gmail.com. I do full endurance coaching, been doing it for 15 years, from single events to Ultraman, marathon swimming, ultra trail running, and now we get to add gravel racing to the resume. I've actually done quite a few, starting with the El Camino 205 all the way back, I think in 2021, and been doing several a year since then. And of course, mountain bike racing. Anything endurance, you want to do it, I coach it. Very happy to do so. And all right, let's pick up next episode. Everybody stay safe out there, work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out.